ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show. It's Saturday night. That means it's Politi-tics night. I'm your host, Jake Johnson, and tonight we're going to go all the way down in the dirty, in the deep state. Always with me, the bandhammer. Say hello, Amanda.
Good evening, UntetheredLive. How are y'all doing?
Fantastic. Can't complain. It is a wonderful, wonderful Saturday out there in politics land. What do you got to say for yourself?
I don't have anything to say. I'm just here tonight.
I was talking to politics land.
Oh.
Amy says, good evening, Jake, Miss Amanda, and Untethered Live family. Hello, Amy. You're the first person in chat. You get the gold star. And Amanda says, here's your gold star. Enjoy. Linda Davis is here. She says, hi, Amy, Amanda, and Jake. Heart back at you. How are you, sweet Linda? I've been lying here with Linda on my mind.
Ooh.
It's a song.
Yeah, I know.
Amanda says,
I don't know what I say. I can't see any of it.
put your glasses on.
My chat won't let me down to it.
Uh-oh.
And I'm trying to reboot my computer, so you
Oh,
just
I
have to
got
give
it.
me a minute.
Amanda says, hi, Amy and Linda. And Amy says, hello, Miss Linda Cookie. Linda Cookie. Linda Cookie. Yeah, I can see how that works. Amy says, like, shared, and invited some friends. Nice. It's always good to bring some people in. Aaron says, I'm watching from the corner. I'm watching you too, Aaron. How you doing, buddy? Nice to see you.
I got it now.
All right.
Hello, Aaron.
Amy says, hi, Aaron. And Aaron says, Amy, hugs and hearts. Linda Davis says, hi, Aaron. Smiley face. Aaron says, I think I should change my name to Liquid Wrench.
That's funny.
I like it. The old Liquid Wrench. Slip right in there. Well, yeah. Amy says, fresh cup of coffee right here. Thank you to the people that provide the coffee for the show. It's a regular cup of joe, and I like it that way, don't you know? Don't you want to have a cup with me? If so, go to the kitchen, pour yourself up a nice hot cup, and let's talk politics. If you don't have a cup, you can get one in the description below. I recommend the first one. It has my face on it. It is fantastic, but we also have stainless steel tumblers, the big ones and the little ones. They got locking lids. They got the Bible study logo on the front, Untethered Live, and all of the platforms on the back. It's a great purchase. They last forever. They keep your coffee hot for hours. Get one while supplies last, or I don't know, a bathroom mat, a set of stickers, whatever you want. It's all there. I'm pretty sure you can get a rubber glove if you want one. I don't know about that last one. You'd have to check me on it. Also, like, subscribe, share, support, join, and super chats are available in the chat box if you want to show a little love. If you want to throw a little clang-a-ling my way, if you want to BJ, you can do that right over there, or hit that CashApp, $JakeJohnsonband. Yes, that is the only $sign I will ever put on a tip, but I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And one last thing. If you would like a great place to hang out outside of YouTube, outside of their oppressive little fingers and me misreading everything you write down, you can do that over at facebook.com/UntetheredLiveChillin' or Untethered Live Family, 2 different places. The link is in the chat. Go check it out. It's a great place to share pictures, videos, texts, and chats and hang out with each other, getting to know one another. And the ladies there are killing it with the memes. It's hilarious. So if you just want a little time of entertainment, that's the place to go. And also, I'm writing a book about everything being bullshit, and I'm doing research and development over there. So every week I will be producing something that's bullshit over there. It's hilarious. Go check it out. I think you'll like it. Now, back to you guys. If you're wondering why I'm sweating, it's because I'm running a fever and I'm sick. Don't worry about it. It'll be okay. I'll just have to keep wiping my brow so I don't melt. Amy says, no, Amanda says, LOL Aaron. You read that one. And Amanda says, about the coffee.
Oh, me too. Coffee for me too. Yes, definitely.
All right. And Amy says, I learned how to operate the levers on a dump truck today. Cool. I used to do that for a living. Yeah, they're quite interesting. Were you on the side or inside the truck? If you're on the side, you got the back and up and down and the back and forth. But if you're on the inside, you got all the brake stuff. Aaron says, hello, Amanda and Linda, and a special hello to the host, Jake. Here I am, sir. Nice to see you. Welcome to the show. Whew. Never let them see you sweat. Aaron says, Amy, that sounds dirty, LOL. The levers on a dump truck? It could be. Especially if there's two of them.
LOL, Aaron.
Amy says, it was a dirty job, Aaron. It's a trash truck. It is a dirty job. Those things stank. Kevin Bernard's here. He says, hello, Jake, Amanda, Amy, and Aaron, and Linda. Hi, Kevin. How are you? Nice to see you, my friend. Amanda says, nice work, Amy. Sorry.
It's all right.
I get on a roll and forget what I'm doing. And Kevin says, hello, Linda. And Aaron says, Amy got that dump truck. Pack it up. That's the sound of a dump truck backing up. I wish you had a dump truck like that in your backyard. That didn't work, does it? Moving on. Why in the backyard? I don't understand. Amy says, hey, Kevin. And Amanda says,
Hi, Kevin.
sorry, my chat jumped.
And I can't tell you, my computer's not all the way back up yet, so I can't tell you what time it is.
Got it. I'll find it. I'm good at this. Apparently. I found it. Amy says, trash truck. It's different than a dump truck. Right. Yeah, my brother-in-law drives a trash truck. He tells me about the little arm that's got on the side. He can pick up a dog with that thing. It's pretty interesting. They come a long way since the days with the dudes sitting on the back of the truck just throwing trash in and smushing it. Now they got levers and an arm that'll reach out. You don't even have to get out of the truck. It'll pick up the trash bins and dump it in, and it's pretty cool. It's like driving a spaceship. Amy says, I said dump truck, but I meant trash truck. We got it. It's okay. And Aaron says, my dad used to drive a trash trucks. Cool. There's no harm in that job. It's a noble job. Somebody's got to do it. And they get paid buku bucks, too, to do it. Believe that. It's only a not so glamorous job on the outside. On the inside, you're like, oh, yeah, I'm banking, because nobody else wants that job. So you can take whatever you want, pretty much. Linda Davis says, hi, Kevin. And Aaron says, Amy, I was making dirty jokes with you. She knows. Rachel's here. She says, hi. Hi, Rachel. How are you, sweet lady? Nice to see you. Glad you dropped in. Amy says, hi, Rachel. Kevin says, hello, Rachel.
Hi, Rachel.
Aaron says, Rachel, glad to see you. And Linda says, hi, Rachel. Aaron says, ice cream time. Oh, nice. I wish I had some ice cream. It'd probably make me sicker. Can't put milk on a fevery stomach. Or heavy cream or whatever it's made out of these days. Amy says, I brought home some supreme pizza for dinner. Does that make me a supremacist? Why, yes, I think it does. You're a pizza supremacist. That's all right. Aaron says, a pizza supremacist. Right on. And Rachel says, y'all are too corny. Shaking my head. Well, that's the fun of being an adult. You can get to be corny and get away with it. When you're young, that stuff matters. When you're old, you're like trying to embarrass the younger people. It's good. Kevin says, where are all the trolls at? I don't know. We'll see where they show up or not.
Football.
Yep, they might be watching football. It was kind of slow last night, too. That's all right, though. Amanda says, LOL, Rachel.
Debbie's hiding in Kevin's closet.
And Debbie says, hiding in your closet, Kevin. Aaron says, Kev, they coming. Oh, no. That could be a good thing. Who are they? Kevin says, I hate closet trolls. Oh, the trolls are coming. Yeah, that wouldn't be good. Rachel says, Debbie, are you and Kevin dating or something? I don't think so. Aaron says, about 10 usually. Trolls? Yeah. Kevin says, Rachel, I'm not that lucky. You would be lucky to wrap that one up for sure. Debbie says, Rachel, I will let Kevin answer that. Ha ha ha. And Rachel says, y'all flirt way too much to not be doing something. Well, it's a safe place, Rachel. I've built a community where you can do that and express yourself and be safe. We're all good friends here, so we can all get away with that sort of thing. Nobody gets too serious. It's just all in good fun. Kevin says, LOL. And Rachel says, for real, are y'all married or something? Friends with benefits? What's going on? They just like each other, that's all. And Amanda says,
LOL, Rachel, we all flirt. We're just having a good time.
right on. And Debbie says, Rachel, we are just good friends. I am mean to him like he was my brother. And Rachel says, yeah, Amanda, but they extra. That means they just enjoy it more. That's all. Amy says, mutual emotional support, Pickles, Debbie, and Kevin is a package deal. Dill. Package deal. Nice. Amanda says,
LOL, Rachel.
I'm sorry, my chat keeps jumping around. My cat's jumping around.
Your cat's jumping around?
Yes.
I doubt
I can
that.
talk. Debbie says, yes, Amy, you are correct. And Aaron says, uh-oh, Jake is sick. Just got a little flu, that's all. Amanda says, LOL, Amy. And Aaron says, we have the one troll to rule them all. They will be here. Maybe. He seems to think he's on something, don't he? And Rachel says, well, Debbie, seems Kevin wants you. Get on that, figuratively and literally. Right on. If you like it, got to put a ring on it. Or not. I think we've had this discussion. Kevin says, Rachel, Debbie and I are just comfortable breaking each other's chops. Notice he didn't say balls. Amy says, taco supremacist and pizza supremacist are damn proud of it. Protein power. Protein power. Rock on. Aaron says, tacos are legendary. Yes, they are. And Linda says, my ex-brother-in-law keeps sharing memes with me. His wife passed away about a year ago, and he is finally coming out of his depression. Well, that's good. Keep encouraging him. Let him do that. I know it drives you crazy. It drives me crazy too. But you let them do it, because that means they're thinking and they're trying to push through and get out. And that's good. That's what he needs to do. Patty says, hello in there. Hello out there. Nice to see you, Patty. Amy says, he's streaming vertical, so we'll have drive-by trolls tonight. Maybe. Maybe they're all watching football, so we'll see.
I'll say, chances are all the kids are watching football. I don't know who's playing tonight, but I know college played this afternoon.
Kevin says, hello, Patty. And Amy says, hi, Patty. And Amanda says,
hi, Patty. Rachel says 8:44. I guess it's an old person thing.
Yeah.
I guess we old people, Rachel.
Yep. I am an old people, that's for sure.
I identified as getting old people.
And Linda says, hey, Patty. And Aaron says, Patty, good to see you. Amy says, Linda, everyone grieves differently. It's hard to lose a spouse. Yes, it is. Patty says, hi, ladies and gents. Miss Patty, nice to see you. Glad you're here. Kevin says, Rachel, you calling me an old man? LOL. And Rachel says, Kevin, yes, very. Well, I'm an old man and I like it. And my glasses are fogged up. Hang on a second.
You know, that's what happens when you sit in front of a cold air conditioner in a warm room.
Yeah. And Rachel says, how old are you, Kevin? How old a fella are you? Kevin says, LOL.
I got kids as old as it, Rachel.
Yeah, I'm 50, going on 135. And my cat's jumping around. It sure is. Amy, sometimes I can talk. Sometimes my teeth get in the way. Debbie says, I think she did Kevin and me too. How rude, LOL. Patty says, it is Miss Amy Elizabeth. It is Miss Amy Elizabeth. It is. Cat's jumping around. Yes. There goes another one.
Oh, Aaron. Woo.
Kevin says, Rachel, I'm 61. Rachel says, Go ahead.
No, I'll wait till you get to it. Let you comment on it. I'll comment on it when you comment on it.
Well, Kevin
I just couldn't resist it.
Kevin says, physically 61. Or physically, I'm a different age. Emotionally, I'm 61. Something like that. And Linda says, Amy, I've been keeping up with him. His wife really treated me like family, even after the split. Right on. And that's a good thing to have. Amy says, a Nova ring. A Nova ring?
Nuva.
Nuva? Is that the thing you put up inside of you?
Yes.
Amy says, that's good, Linda. My husband's family abandoned me. I'm sorry to hear that.
Nuva ring is a female condom, basically.
Yeah. Aaron says, what's a Nova ring? A female condom, basically. And Rachel says, well, I shouldn't be talking, Kevin. That's how old my fiance is. Smiley face. And Amy says, it's birth control, Aaron. Aaron says, oh, damn. As long as the egg can still work. You need that thing, I guess.
Yeah, it's just a rubber silicone ring you put inside of you and let it go, and it opens up, and you take it out when you're done.
Yeah.
Just a female version of a condom.
Kevin says, Rachel, can I ask how old you are? And Rachel says, take a guess. Amy says, Jake said, put a ring on it. And I said, Nova ring, Aaron. I did say put a ring on it.
Yeah.
I did not specify which one. Kevin says, you seem very young. Rachel says, LOL, Amanda. And Amanda knows I'm 27. 27. I'd give anything to be 27 again.
That's what I said. I got kids at Rachel's age.
Aaron says, LOL, Amy. A Nova ring and gives her a look. Hands Amy a Nova ring, gives her a look. Right on. Kevin says, Rachel, my youngest is 10 years older than you. Wow. And Aaron says, I guessed right. I gave up the guessing game because you always meet people that defy the expectation. Amy says, Aaron, my plumbing doesn't work. I don't need it. Amanda says, woo, Aaron, damn it, man. Amanda says that. You say it.
Ooh, Aaron, damn it, man. Lay it all on the table.
Right on. Rachel says, Kevin, wow. Kevin says, more coffee. Be right back. I hear you, buddy. And Rachel says, Aaron, guess what? What? Amy says, wash your hands, Aaron, and then clean the table. Aaron says, well, the pipe can still rattle, right? The plumbing might not work, but the pipe still rattles. Damn. I like. Aaron says, your age, Vera. I guessed your age. And Linda says, the Nuva ring stays in all month. It's hot hormones in it. It has hot hormones in it. I don't need it, but I have girls. Personally, I don't know about the Nuva ring. I've never done any research into that, but I am totally against that IUD because it changes the person, changes their hormones, changes them in completely. You could almost look at it like programming. And I'm totally against that. If you don't want to have sex, don't have sex. But you don't need to change who you are to avoid getting pregnant. There's other ways of doing that. Amy says, cobwebs and rusty pipes. Blech. Me get some Pepto-Bismol and some WD-40 up in that thing. Linda says, I got girls, but I've got girls. I got you. Rachel says, Aaron, well, the picture I have with Thomas, you can clearly see age difference. So, well, it's okay. If you're into it, we're into it. You decide who you want to date. Rachel says, also, since we are friends, you can see my date of birth. Aaron says, yep. It's not hard to guess, right, Aaron?
I like them older too, Rachel. Don't feel bad. Don't let them mess with you. I got your back, girl.
Or some liquid wrench, says Aaron. Yeah, never mind the WD-40. Get some liquid wrench up in there, Amy.
Damn it, man.
Good gracious.
I'm glad I don't have that problem. Poor Jake got to wipe his face off on that one.
Yeah, pouring sweat over here. Y'all making me excited. And Rachel says, been going on 7 years. Nice. So y'all got together when you were 20.
Amy said she needs a gallon-sized jug.
Yeah, Debbie says, Aaron gonna make me blush. And Rachel says, sure. Ha 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 ha. A gallon-sized jug of liquid wrench. Well, I don't know if he can do a gallon or not, but I'm sure he's willing to try. Rachel says, Amanda knows. And Aaron says, smiley face. And let's go with 20. Right on. I get it. I've been there too. It's a whole different world that we came from.
Yes. We had this conversation the other day.
I figured.
Crazy.
Yeah, I look back on those days and it's like I lived on a different planet. And I look out today and see what's going on and what people are worried about. And I'm like, you people just have no idea. Aaron says it's good to see everybody laughing. Yeah, that's a good way to be. Laughter is good medicine. Makes the woes go away. I'm molting over here.
You want the fan?
Yes, please.
Okay,
or a fan, something.
Hold on.
Thank you. Rachel says, I walked 6 miles the other day, in case you were wondering. Well, it hadn't crossed my mind, but now that you tell me, I'm proud of you. 6 miles is a good feat. I do that every day. Or more. Probably 50 miles, but who's counting? I wouldn't know. I need to get a Fitbit and find out. Amy says, they already asked on the questionnaire if you have a mental instability. What questionnaire? And Rachel says, because I'm fat and I need to lose weight. Well, as long as you know that, you get to work, you'll get it. I have no problem believing in you. And Rachel says, ha ha ha, Jake. That's all right. And Amy says to buy a firearm. Oh, I see you're talking about the title. Yes. Yes, Trump has decided, I don't know if he's done it yet or not, but he has floated the idea to ban some guns, which you would think the Democrats would like because that's in their direction of banning guns. At least some guns will be banned. Turns out he wants to ban the guns from the people who kill people with them. What say you? What do you think about that? And we talked about this the other day, and it turns out that every single one of these incidences, every single one of them, is involved with some sort of perversion and also some form of medication. Every single one of them. Seems to me like you know who to ban the guns from. And Rachel says, you do 50 miles a day? I said, probably. I was being facetious. I'm on my feet all day and I walk all day long at work. I don't know how many miles I cover, but I cover a few, I'm sure, every day. I'm going to get a Fitbit and find out one of these days because I'm curious to know. Linda Davis says, I don't care how old or young as long as he's good with his hands. Right on. That's a prerequisite, a must-have. Believe that.
Definitely, Linda. Definitely. 100% agree with you on that one.
Debbie says, Jake should take his shirt off so he could cool off. I could. But it'd be too much for you to handle. I got to keep the peace around here, Debbie. And Rachel says, Lamal, I thought she was talking about the NuvaRing and being mentally stable. No, she jumped over to the topic of tonight's Politi-tics, which will probably never get to it, but if it's available, we'll talk about it. And Walter Davis is here. He says, good evening, all. Hey, Walter, nice to see you, my friend. Aaron says, handyman. I'm pretty handy with my hands, man. I'm a handyman. Go, Aaron. Amy says, smiley face. Kevin says, hello, Walter.
Right, Linda, that part. Good with your hands.
Yeah. Amy says, hello, Walter. Aaron says, Walter, hello. Rachel says, Linda, yep, Thomas is top tier. Right on.
Hi, Walter.
Linda says, hi, Walter. How's the boat? Amy says, I walk at least 5 miles a night at work. Yeah, I don't have any clue how many I walk. I was being facetious, but I walk a lot every day. I don't have a chair at work, so I stay on my feet from the time I get there to the time I leave. You know how it is. Back and forth all day long.
Now he's got a belly. He can help hold his shirts on the machine.
Hey, now. Amy says, but it could be a foot in the door. Once you start removing guns from one group of people, politicians will stretch the guidelines to try to remove them from more. I agree with that. I didn't say I was for this idea. I just think it's funny that he floated the idea.
Trump's trolling.
Walter says, the storm moved inland, so I'm at the farm, Linda. Trying to keep the farm from sinking? Since the storm moved inland. Did I read that wrong? Kevin says, I'm on my feet 8 to 10 hours a day, and I go to the gym 3 times a week for 2 hours a day, or 2-hour workouts. Wow. That's more than I do. When I'm not working, I'm sleeping if I can help it. Amy says, Trump is the troll king, and I agree with that. And I think that's what he's doing. I think he's just trying to piss the Dems off even more because every time he does that, they show a little bit more how crazy they are. And I don't think anybody should have their guns banned, but I do think that we should reinstate mental institutions and, guidelines for who's allowed to walk the streets to some degree. Because there's some crazy people walking around with no kind of guidance whatsoever. And that happened since the 80s. I remember when if you made too much noise outside, a band would pull up and a couple of guys would jump out in nice white suits and offer you a free shirt. Sleeves were a little long, but they were like, hey, you can't be making that kind of noise out here. Let's go take a ride. Let's have a nap. Oh, yeah. I remember those days. Walter said, we had a really big thunderstorm here. We haven't had one yet, but it feels like it wants to. Aaron says, Kev, my gym bro. Right on. I don't think I have the energy to go to the gym. Fab Daddy's here. He says, I will walk 5,000 miles and I will walk 5,000 more just to be the man that walked 5,000 miles to be at your door. Da 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 da. And I would walk 500 miles and I would walk 500 more. Thousands pushing it. Kevin says, Trump knows the secret to making Democrats look stupid. Let them talk. Right. Amen to that. That's what I think he's doing.
Well, you know the Democrats are in trouble when they're losing Bill Maher.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say that too. There's several David Pacman has went right. He's a big Democrat voice. He just quit. So now he's going right. Bill Maher's going right. There's been quite a few have left the left and went right and now are MAGA. Kind of makes you wonder what they're doing over there. Amanda says,
Hi, Fab.
Amy says, a nuggy shirt because it makes you hug yourself. A huggy shirt, yes, makes you hug yourself. That's right. Tightly. Yes. Kevin says, hello, Fab Daddy. Patty says, Kevin, lah. And Linda says, I go to the gym 3 times a week and I'm still fat. My son has me counting macros and he's making me eat more. Right on. Walter Davis says, remember the song? They are coming to take me away. Aha, they're coming to take me away. Ha. Yes, I do. That was a thing. I think it should be a thing again. Because if you look at some of the people that have voices today, they deserve to be in a sanitarium. However you say it. Some crazy people out there.
Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Linda Davis says, hi, Fab. Walter says, hi, Fab. Walter says, I told you that years ago, Linda. Amy says, hey, Fab. Yeah, I've listened to some people talk, and I start with the benefit of the doubt. I want to hear what the other side has to say. Maybe I'm wrong. But every time, and I'm sick of it, years and years and years I've been doing it, listening to the other side, and they get more and more ridiculous every single day. It gets to the point where they can't even carry on conversations. I just saw a video of Charlie Kirk, and he was debating a college student. And she says, if you'll stop interrupting me, I'll tell you what my point is. And he says, okay, the floor is yours. And he just sit there quietly. She interrupted herself 9 times and never got to a point. There you go. It's kind of hard to carry on a conversation when you think in 10-second TikTok videos. Amy says, once you go right, there's nothing left. Exactly. Kevin says, Jake, did you get a chance to listen to the new Riders of the Purple Sage? I haven't yet, but I will as soon as I get to feeling better. I've got it written down. I just haven't had a chance to do it yet. Or anything else for that matter. I'm only doing this because I'm obligated to. Believe me, 5 minutes ago I was in bed. 10 minutes ago, however long I've been here. 30 minutes ago. Aaron says, you told her what, Walter? About crazy people needing to be locked up, I think. Linda says, it's hard to eat that much. I didn't realize how much real food you have to eat to get 1,000 calories with 100 grams of protein. Yep. Amy says, I opened the door, letting in the cool night air. Plus, my internet connection works better. Yeah, because line of sight, probably. Walter says, I told Linda she needed to eat small meals about 6 times a day to get her metabolism going right. That does work. I've seen it work. It doesn't matter what you eat. It matters how you eat. Aaron says, macros only works if you're doing a very specific workout. Otherwise, you just work out and do you. Right? Amy says, I don't eat large meals either. I snack all day long. I found the best way for me to lose weight is to just stop eating, period. You go keto and your body starts eating the fat that's on it. Of course, after that, you have to do a rehab and work your muscles back up because you will lose muscle mass when you do that. Debbie says, that is me too. I'm a snacker, right? Amy says, apple cider vinegar is supposed to help lose weight. I don't think it'll help lose weight completely. I think it'll aid in you losing weight if you're losing weight. Because it coats your cells. When you take a spoonful of apple cider vinegar, it coats your insides and filters through your body and makes things move a little smoother. But if you're not doing anything, it's not going to work. Bottom line, you have to be above normal to lose weight. Whatever normal is, your body wants to stay there. The body does not like to change. It takes 6 months to change a body's nature. So even if you lost 100 pounds, if you don't work diligently to keep that at that level for 6 months, you'll gain it right back and probably go past where you were before. That's the trouble with losing weight. The body does not like to change. It doesn't want to change. It wants to stay right where it's at. If you're 500 pounds, it wants to stay there. And whatever normal is for you, you have to get up above it and stay above it in order for your body to work right. And it's hard to do. Losing weight is a difficult challenge, but it can be done. Never, ever participate in anything that has the word diet in it, because that is not designed to help you lose weight. That is designed to make you a good customer. Remember that. Nothing sugar-free, nothing diet, nothing low-fat. Stay away from those things. Those are bad. If it's on a marketing campaign, it's bad for you. Trust me. Eat things that come out of the ground. Eat things that you kill. Eat things that don't rot. Eat things that are not white. Those are the 4 things.
Eat things that do rot.
That's what I said.
You said don't.
I meant do. Eat things that rot. I'm pretty sure I said eat things that rot. Well, I meant to say that anyway. If it don't rot, don't eat it. If you go to McDonald's and buy a Big Mac and set it up on your shelf, 5 years from now, it'll look like a Big Mac that you bought yesterday. It doesn't rot. Bugs won't eat it. Mold won't eat it. Don't put that in your body. It's that simple. Drink lots of water. Believe me, I don't practice what I preach. I'm telling you straight up, I don't drink water. So listening to me might be dangerous, but I'm telling you, drink lots of water. Drink only water, as a matter of fact, if you can. Water with honey, water with lemon, something like that, if you need flavor. Stay away from a lot of high sugar things, because that causes your body to store fat cells. You want your body to eat fat cells. So you have to have your body lean enough that it needs to eat. So it'll eat what's there. That's the only way that works. There is no secret. There is no magic. You have to get up and move a lot. But if you can do it. Don't eat large meat. I read that one. Where am I at? Apple cider. Oh, here we go. Amy says apple cider, vinegar, lemon, and honey water. Right. Those are good things for you. Linda Davis says, Aaron, my son is a bodybuilder and does competitions. Let me say this, Linda. People that are big like Arnold Schwarzenegger are not healthy. I need you to understand that. That is not healthy. They are on the verge of death to look like that. Trust me. Ask him if you don't believe me. And Aaron says, that proves my point. Walter says, go keto too long and your body stored everything you eat because your metabolism is too low. True. The problem is, it's not that it's hard to lose weight. It's that the system has told you for so long certain things that you can't get out of your head what's in your head, right? You've been raised for the past 50 years to think a certain way, to think certain things are true, to think certain things are right, to look at things a certain way. That's why everything is bullshit is true. Because if you ever go back, do this. Go tonight and go to look up the 1989 food pyramid. Go look it up and look at it and read it to yourself out loud. And when you see what's on that food pyramid, you'll recognize that the system is trying to kill you. It is not trying to make you healthy. It is the exact opposite of what it should be, but they propagandize that thing on cartoons, on every magazine, in the grocery stores. They told people for a while that trans fats were bad, causing heart attacks, that cholesterol was bad for you. Cholesterol is a reaction to plaque. Plaque is caused by an altering of the metabolism to where your blood starts putting out the bad stuff in the bloodstream instead of taking it to where it's supposed to go, which is to the liver. And so cholesterol is put out in order to correct that problem. So you got to fight the problem, not the cholesterol, because if you fight the cholesterol, the plaque is free to roam, and that's when you have a stroke. So they told you the opposite of what's true every time. They told you about heart health. They told you about butter. They said that I can't believe it's not butter is good for you. They said milk does the body good. None of these things are true. Everything is bullshit. Everything you think you know is wrong. In fact, in most cases, it's the exact opposite. I hope that helps somebody. Kevin says, Rachel, are you still here? I think so. Amy says, your chat's about to jump. It does. It's hard to lose weight if a person has disability too. Oh, it's really hard. If you can't get out there and do the thing you need to do every day, it's very hard. I have a friend who's suffering from that right now. He was crushed from the waist down. He's in a wheelchair, and he just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and there's nothing he seems to be able to do about it. All he can move is his arms. He can't stand up. He can't just keep doing his arms because that doesn't do anything for the rest of him. I feel for him, but it's very hard. Amy says, the more you move, the more you lose. A simple walk every day is a good start. True. But walk briskly. Don't just saunter. Walk like you have somewhere to be. Trust me on this. You want to get your heart rate up. That's the key. That's what makes walking effective, is getting your heart rate up. So pretend like you're late for a meeting and walk. And just walk briskly everywhere you go. If you're going to the grocery store, walk briskly. If you're going to the mailbox, walk briskly. Just do that. Also, you could do things like when you're doing the laundry, instead of putting the hamper up where you can reach it, put it down on the floor so you have to bend over to grab the clothes and stand up to put them in the washing machine. Things like that. Park on the end of the parking lot instead of right up close to the door. Things like that. Just reprogram your mind to do things that are beneficial to your body, and that will help a lot. Mostly you got to get out of your head all the stuff that's been put in it about what's good for you, because most of that stuff ain't good for you. And Kevin says, I eat like a rabid raccoon and never gain weight. You just wait, Kevin. Sooner or later, you're going to hit the peak of your metabolism, and it'll turn around on you. If you ain't got a dad bod yet, I support you. I hit mine at about, really, the first time I ever gained an ounce was when my first wife got pregnant with my first child. I gained weight with her, sympathetically, but she had a child. I did not, so I kept the weight. But after that, I was 142 pounds from the day I turned 13 into the day she got pregnant. I never lost or gained an ounce, and it didn't matter what I ate or drank. And I eat and drink a lot of stuff. Big honey bun fan. You know what I'm saying? But now that I'm over 50, I have to watch what I eat because it'll go right to my ass. And that's true. I never worried about any of that stuff growing up. I never watched what I ate. I didn't care. It don't hurt me. Yes, it will. Amy says, LOL, Kevin. And oh, I need that wrong. I read that wrong. You read what wrong? Which did you read wrong? Walter says, proof positive. Look under the seat of any car in any junkyard, and you will find French fries that look fine. Yes, that's exactly right. Don't eat that stuff. That's really bad for you. I know you're like, but French fries are awesome. I know they are. I love French fries, especially McDonald's French fries. But I will implore you, if you like McDonald's French fries, go find the documentary about how McDonald's makes their French fries. And when you understand that before they become French fries, they handle those things with hazmat suits on, and the stuff they cover them with will kill you on contact. Then they wash them and get that stuff off after they've grown a specific type of potato, and then they turn them into the French fries. But before they go to McDonald's, they will literally kill you. Believe that. Go watch the documentary. It's really bad to eat those things, and they are awesome. Kevin says, my blood work came back perfect, aside from low vitamin D level. That's good. You can take a supplement for that, or better yet, just go out and get in the sunlight a couple of hours a day. You might have a vitamin D deficiency where the sunlight isn't providing you. Normally, sunlight will provide you with enough vitamin D. But if you can always take a supplement off the shelf, that'll help with that. And that's fantastic, Kevin. My blood work is not nominal. I have a lot of issues. Amy says, I was thinking Kevin was out with a scoop shovel on the road for dinner. Totally. Oh, like a rabid. I eat a rabid raccoon. I say, you thought he was eating the raccoon. Got it. Nope. That's further south. Those guys will eat roadkill. Linda says, Walter had this guy working for him years ago that had one of his trucks. And when we got it back, there was a McDonald's hamburger under the seat, and it looked fresh. Yes, I've done this before, too. And I've seen it done before. They don't rot. They don't even age. They look exactly the same. They're hard as a brick. You could throw them through a window, but they look exactly like they did when they were served to you. You got to wonder what that does on your insides. How much of that stays in you when you poop out what's left. I suspect, I have no idea whether this is true or not. I'm not a doctor. You shouldn't listen to me, but I suspect that the reason we only live 100 years roughly, respectively, is because of our diet. I suspect that since the flood, we have been eating things that kill us from the moment we start eating them. You got to understand that before the flood, people only ate nuts, herbs, and vegetables. They did not eat meat. They did not eat anything processed. They ate what they needed from the tree, from the source. Nuts and seeds and herbs. That's it. So, after the flood, God opened up everything for consumption because now you need to, fill up a planet. Before it was the Garden of Eden and everything that spread out from there, the earth provided for the people that were there. After the flood, everything was destroyed. There was no more source of food. There was no more gathering of people that have collected food. So now you have to eat anything you can get your hands on, and that's what they did. And I suspect that's why we died a lot sooner after that. Before that, they lived at least 900 years. Imagine that. Imagine living 900 years. It's amazing. Kevin says, LOL, Amy. Patty says, if you do not drink water equals the UTI, then if you go to the hospital, they could tell you confusion is dementia, and there you go. I don't know what that has to do with the UTI, but not drinking water will dehydrate you, and that causes a lot of problems, for sure. Walter says, hey, Patty. Amy says, Patty is Wesley. Yes. Patty says, it's Patty, Walter. Hello. Walter says, hi, Patty. Amy says, everything is bullshit. Yes, it is. And the more I look, the stronger I feel about that conviction, and I can prove it. You just have to give me time to show you that everything you think is wrong, and people don't like it when you do that. So you have to take my word for it and go out on a limb with me, and then you'll see that I'm right. Kevin says, sadly, I no longer trust the medical professionals after COVID, and you'd be wise to be that way. In the old days, during the Socratic method and all of that, HIPAA and all of that stuff, medicine was designed to help people in need, help aid people in need. Here lately, in the last 100 years, it's been about making money, and it's been about pushing a narrative and guiding communities to live a certain way so that they can control them, unfortunately. And a lot of times, the information you get from medical professionals is incorrect, wholly, completely. Furthermore, they are trained to drug it or cut it out. That is what their training is, and that's everything they think is along those lines. That's not always the answer. Sometimes you can fix things without cutting it out or drugging it. Sometimes. Amy says, me too, Kevin. And Aaron says, marketing is the marketing at its best. GNC stores are legal plugs for drugs, and the doctors are dealers. It's sad, but that's true. That is true. And not only that, they get kickbacks when they push certain drugs. They have what's called a drug rep that'll go out to doctors and kind of recruit them. They'll get them under their wing. They'll take them out to dinner or wine and dine them a little bit. And so they start pushing your drugs, right? Whatever you have to sell them. And so then everything that they do, they try to prescribe that drug to it. Whether it's helpful or not, they want to sell that drug because it makes them money. That's when you need to worry. And also, you can find this out yourself. If you think I'm wrong, just take a week and go visit a few doctors if you have a problem and get several different opinions. And you'll find out that every specialist you go to has a particular set of drugs that they work from, and that's it. They will not provide you with the drugs that guy works with. Try to get a doctor to prescribe you ivermectin, which was known as a miracle drug 20 years ago, which won awards for being the most useful drug on the market. It also happens to be unpatentable because it's natural, so you can't patent it. You can't make money on it. And I promise you, getting a doctor to prescribe it for you will be next to impossible, even though it's the exact thing you might need. Walter says, enriched flour is loaded with herbicides and chemical treatment to enrich it. Yes. Eat things that are not white, meaning brown things. Eat brown sugar. Eat brown flour. It's better for you. That's why so many people are gluten intolerant. Not the gluten, it's the chemicals. Right. Well, gluten-free is a new thing. 100 years ago, nobody was intolerant to gluten. That's a new thing because of the new way we prepare and preserve foods. That's it. And you got to get away from those things. I know how increasingly hard it is to do that, though. It's unbelievable how hard it is to not eat anything that comes in a package. But there are people out there that are diehard, won't eat anything that don't come off a tree type people, and they are healthy. So go figure. Kevin says, Aaron, I agree. Amy says, they follow a sick model instead of a health model. Right. My nurse practitioner likes a health model. Talks about nutrition and herbal medicines. Right. Well, unfortunately, they judge based on how sick you are, not on your potential to be healthy, which is what you're saying. And also, they don't take the time to get to know you. If you go to a doctor and you spend 2 hours waiting on him, he comes in, reads your chart, says hello, taps you on the knee, and then bolts. How did that doctor ascertain what you need? And why would you trust anything he gave you? He doesn't know you from Adam's house cat. He don't know what your idiosyncrasies are, what your different body types are, anything like that. He's guessing largely. Pay attention to those kind of things. Go see a country doctor that'll spend time with you and get to know you, get to know your habits, get to know what you do. That way he can correctly prescribe things that will be beneficial to you. And a lot of that stuff you don't even need. Again, I'm not a doctor. Don't listen to me. I have a medical education that I provided for myself. I wouldn't listen to that if I were you. But if I'm telling you anything, listen to this. Pay attention to what people put in your body. They have no incentive to make it right. Debbie says, I eat what I want. And I am in shape. Round is a shape. Haha. Round is a shape. And if that's what you like, power to you. Nobody's telling you that's wrong. But if you'd like to see your abs again, or knees, you need to do something to make that happen, because you will keep being ever more round. Amy says, I think about in the last couple of decades how much allergies have increased. Yes. It's the additive in the foods and the microplastics. All of those things are bad for you. And you're right. And allergies have persisted. And also, to get a little bit mean here, and I don't mean to be, but it's true. If we're talking about nature, then we have to be honest about the reality of nature. Some people are not supposed to survive. That's just the way nature works. And yet we have figured out ways to make them survive. So now they're in a deficit, and we have to provide for them to make them up to par. That's just the way nature works. So I think that the best way to handle that is to provide healing things from nature, to heal things that nature causes, and to abstain from things that society causes, because it causes things. Like you said, microplastics are really bad for you. You know how to get microplastics out of your body? Well, to start with, you can't, because you've been inundated with them for the past 100 years. But if you could, it would be to avoid drinking out of plastic or eating out of plastic, period. Which is almost impossible these days. I'm not saying there's an answer for any of this. There isn't. There doesn't seem to be. But there are things you could do to mitigate it, make it a little bit better. Amy says, LOL, Debbie. And Amy says, supersize it, or supersize me. Right on. Hey, I'm a little round in the waist, too. I gained a lot of weight in the last 10 years. And at one time, and I know you can't tell it to look at my face because that's all you can see of me, but at one time I was pushing 300 pounds for real. 298 pounds is what I was. And that's when I decided to do something about it. And now I'm back down to 180, and I'd like to stay there. Last time I looked.
Probably not so much anymore.
Well, I have been getting good cooking lately.
Could say you're probably closer to 2 now.
Well, that's your fault, not mine.
Well, that's okay. That just means you're loved and well taken care of.
Right on. Walter says, fast food, French fries, start as russet potatoes. They are good. The processing ruins them. Yep. Well, most places are russet potatoes. McDonald's has a very specific potato that they use, and they will not use anything other than that particular thing, and I think it's a russet type. But they have their own farms, and they process them a certain way, and when they put them in the ground, the thing that they spray on the ground is poisonous to humans. It will kill you on contact. They literally have to gather them up in hazmat suits, and it's not until they go through a washing process that they can then be handled. And after they've been peeled. It's really, I don't understand how they can get away with that, but they do. Aaron says, Amy, I don't know what you eat, but you have good skin. Nice. I have good skin. I don't have a lot of pimples or anything like that. It's pale, but it's good. I don't retain a tan for some reason. But other than that, I don't have like craters or greasy skin or body odor or anything like that. So whatever my genetics are, at least that good. Amy says, I eat a lot of trail mix. Right on. I don't know if that's good for you or not. It's probably not anything. It probably doesn't have anything in it. Like eating air, like eating celery. It takes more to eat celery, more energy to eat celery than it produces. which is why if you eat celery, you should always put something like peanut butter or ranch dressing or something on it, because at least you'll get some kind of nutrient out of it. Amy says trail mix and Ritz crackers. Kevin says, Jake, after COVID, I developed an allergy to sunlight. I break out in a rash if I'm not covered up, and that's why my vitamin D levels were dangerously low. I'm on a prescription for vitamin D. But if you don't mind me asking, were you vaccinated? Because I would probably hazard a guess that that's what caused your sensitivity to sunlight. You don't have to tell me if you don't want to, but I just thought I'd ask. Aaron says, I guess that makes sense. Trail mix has nuts. Yes, well, nuts are incredibly good for your body, your joints, and your cells, the way that your cells interact with one another. It's like lubricant. The oils that are in the nuts are really good for your internal body. And so adding nuts to your diet, a good healthy amount of nuts to your diet is really good for you. And remember, that's what we ate to begin with. That's the way the body was designed. That's what your appendix is for. You know how they say the appendix is vestigial? It doesn't have a purpose? That's wrong. Back in the old days, we ate roots and nuts, and you need your appendix to digest those things. That's what it's for. Again, everything's bullshit. You do not have vestigial appendages. That little bone in your butt that they say is a vestigial tail, the coccyx bone, if you think it's vestigial and you don't need it anymore, I will pay to have yours removed. And you tell me how that works out for you. You're going to find out real quick you need that bone and the muscles that are attached to it severely, especially when it comes to, getting close to people. Amy says, Aaron, I eat a lot. Oh, sorry. Aaron, I eat a lot of food with preservatives, and that's why I look so young. You get a lot of preservatives? You pickled yourself? I'd say just eat more vegetables, and the more leafy, raw things you can eat, the better off you'll be. Again, I'm not picking on anybody. I'm not judging anybody, and I'm not telling you that I'm right. This is purely for entertainment purposes. But I do know a thing or two, so I hope you listen some. Sorry, my chat jumped again.
9:21.
Thank you. 9:21. Wow, I'm way ahead. Amy says, hugs, Kevin. And Kevin says, LOL. Sorry, no, a lot of people dealing with a lot worse than me. Right on. Yeah, I went through a little bit of rough trouble with COVID, too. I didn't get the vaccination, but COVID itself damaged me, which is why I can't sing anymore. Amy says, I care about you, Kevin, as do we all. And Aaron says, ha ha, Amy, preserves the new brand. And Rachel says, I'm back for a minute. All right, Rachel. And Linda says, Kevin, I have to take prescription vitamin D too. When you are done with the prescription, my doctor told me to get the over-the-counter 2,000 and take it a daily. 2,000 micrograms or milligrams, whatever it is, and take it daily. Yeah, I take vitamin D, and I take magnesium and something else. Cranberry. Kevin says, welcome back, Rachel. And Rachel says, Kevin Lamau, what? Take a vitamin? Vitamin D is very common deficiency. Yeah, it is common. Now, a lot of us stay indoors a lot these days, and that's why most of us are vitamin D deficient. But some of us have deficits in our system, and he does. That's why he's vitamin D deficient. Something damaged his intake of vitamin D, which is why I asked if he was vaccinated. Aaron says, Kev, you get checked for lupus? I don't think it's lupus. It's never lupus. Linda says, I also have to get vitamin B shots monthly. I've never done that. I wonder if that would work for me. I take the vitamin B tablets, but I've never got the shot. Kevin says, Linda, I will be on it for a long time, being that I can't be exposed to sunlight. Do you think that'll go away, or do you think that's permanent? Rachel says, I have it too, and also low white blood count. Eat better and work out. Low white blood count is indicative of something else. I would get that looked into. Amy says, look how the frontline doctors were treated at the start of the pandemic, and they tried to call out the BS. Yes, some of them did. And they tried everything to shut it down. They did not want the truth to be known. This is a fact. Not all, but a lot of the frontline doctors did come out and say, hey, this doesn't make any sense. If you had any common sense, you knew that already because it didn't make any sense. But they really wanted to declare a state of emergency, and the only way they could do that was if there was not another treatment available so that they could mandate the vaccine, right? That's why ivermectin and the other drugs that were on the market at the time got pushed down, and the doctors were not allowed to prescribe them, which is why I told you, if you go try to get ivermectin, they won't give it to you to this day, even though that's exactly the thing you should be taking. So there's that. But yes, a lot of the mainstream scientists, people that had Nobel Peace Prizes and people that had Pulitzers and, really, really powerful scientists were just eradicated. No more talking to them. Can't listen to them. They're crazy. It's amazing. I've never seen anything like it in my life. And Rachel says, oh, I read that one. And I read that one. Rachel says, Kevin, so what you do? ? What do you do? You stay indoors 24/7? You have no window in your home? No, he's allergic to sunlight. It actually makes him break out. Aaron says, I live in Florida, so my D is good. Yeah. Kevin is slinging the D down there in Florida. I mean, Aaron's slinging the D down there in Florida. Vitamin D. Amy says, Kevin says, Rachel, I work outside 5 days a week. And Walter says, Prozac is a great example of big pharma pushed by doctors. Yes. Yes, they started that in the 90s, Prozac and a few other things. And that's lithium, basically. It's really bad for your brain. And they push it on people that don't need it. My personal belief is that psychology as a business is hooey, and you should never, ever talk to those people, especially let them give you drugs, because their drugs are not good for you, and you don't need that. You need to be honest, you need to have a healthy way of thinking, and you need to get punched in the face. I'm sorry, but that's the reality of the situation. 90% of the things I see people go into therapy for could be resolved by a reality check. But unfortunately, we have a culture of victims, and that's just the way it is. So hopefully the adults in the room will eventually take over and come back out. But right now, they've done a big sit down, and the asylums are running the inmates are running the asylum. Rachel says, Kevin, so you are covered 24/7. That's what he's saying. Amy says, long sleeve shirts, I would imagine. Yes. And Rachel says, what? You going to die if sunlight hits you? Nobody will break out. Aaron says, Prozac almost killed my sister. Yeah, it's really bad for you. I took it one time. I thought it would help my situation. I was grieving. So I decided I would take Prozac to elevate my mood. I lost all sensation of concern. I didn't care. I had no highs at all. I didn't care. I could have squashed you like a bug and it would have not affected me. I didn't care if somebody died in front of me. I didn't care if babies were born. I had no emotions. I was like, I'll never touch that again. That's really, really bad. It's not like I've turned evil. I just didn't have any empathy at all. None. It was gone. I didn't care. Everything was level. I don't need that. Kevin says, Rachel, yeah, pretty much. Rachel says, so you have no window in your home? No, he has windows in his home. He just can't go out in direct sunlight. Debbie says, I bet Amy is thinking Aaron should prove his D is good. You got a good D, Aaron? And Linda says, LOL, Debbie. Kevin says, Rachel, no, I just break out with a rash. That's a lot like poison ivy. And Aaron says, Rachel, ever heard of lupus? Some people can die from the sun. Yeah, lupus is bad for you. I've known one person in my life that had lupus. Amy says, 8 out of the last 10 mass murders were on some kind of SSRIs. Yes. And also, if you look, there was some sexual perversion behind it. Every single one of them. I would go as far as to say, if you go back in history to the not the Edgar cases, you know the guys. What's the guy that ate the kids?
Dahmer?
Yeah, Jeffrey Dahmer. Go back to those guys. Even they exhibited some kind of sexual perversion and some kind of necessity to take medications. It's a very common thing, which is why I think it's a good idea to troll the left by saying, well, let's just ban the guns for those people. That's sort of in your direction, right? Let's see how much you freak out over that idea. That'll tell you. You can always tell what people are hiding by what you're not allowed to say, by what they will freak out if you do say. If we live in a free country and speech is free, then you should be able to say whatever you want. Why would you care if I have that opinion, right? Doesn't hurt you, especially if it ain't true, right? But weirdly enough, there's some things, if you say it, people freak out and start trying to counsel you and shut you up. They don't want you to say those things. Kind of makes you wonder. Rachel says, Aaron, no, I never heard of someone opening their door and walking outside and dying from the sun, and nobody suggested that that was the case, Rachel. That's not what's being said. And Linda says, Aaron, my sister has lupus. It's an autoimmune disease. Yes, it is. Rachel says, then. Never heard of someone opening the door and then walking outside and dying from the sun. Nope, it don't work that way. And Walter says, gluten intolerance took off when the grain buyers started insisting on spraying weather with glyphosate before they harvested to dry it out. Yeah, there's a lot of that going on. Back in the day, they used to spray DDT in the air over crops, which people were up in arms about. But it also had an interesting side effect that it almost eradicated the bedbug population, interestingly enough. And so when they banned DDT from the crops, all of a sudden we had waves of bedbugs all over the East Coast. And it was everywhere. It even got to my house. It took me a year to get rid of them things. But it's interesting how when you change one little thing, other things ramp up and become a problem. And Rachel says, Kevin, that sucks. Aaron says, I personally know someone dying from that very thing, Rachel. Read up. Yeah, lupus is a bad disease. It'll mess with you in ways you wouldn't expect. Kevin says, Rachel, it could be worse. It could be. Rachel says, Aaron, sorry, I have never wondered if someone has died from direct sunlight unless they were lost at sea, etc. But I read a lot, but thanks. Well, nobody said anything about dying from direct sunlight. He said he was allergic to sunlight, meaning it causes him to get rashes, which is what happens when you are allergic to sunlight. Well, why is this a point of contention? I don't understand.
But some people have died from walking out and being out in the sunlight.
Not immediately.
No.
And no one has suggested that. I'm lost. I don't understand why this is a point of contention. Maybe something was said the wrong way or something, or understood the wrong way. I don't know. All of this is conjecture. I'm not speaking the truth. I'm speaking my opinion, and I've made it clear several times. I'm not a doctor. You shouldn't listen to me. But this is how I view the world, so if you're interested, listen up. Amy says, right, Walter, Roundup is used as a fertilizer, but it also is a preservative in food. I did not know that. I know Roundup has been accused of causing cancers, and for a while they had tried to ban it, or did ban it. I'm not sure. I don't know what the end result of that was, but can't be good. Kevin says, Rachel, it's hard. It's a hard thing to adjust to, but it's not the end of the world. Right on. And Aaron says, well, now you know. And Richard says, Aaron, thanks. I can sleep better knowing that. I had such a burning desire to know. Somebody has got some cornflakes that are ill-fated. Amy says, in nature, if you find a poisonous plant, the antidote will be growing near it by God's design. This is correct. And also, interestingly enough, plants look like the thing that they are good for. For example, if you cut a carrot in half, the inside of it looks like an iris. Turns out it's good for your eyes. Cauliflower looks like a brain. Turns out it's good for your brain. Kidney beans look like kidneys. Turns out it's good for your kidneys and your liver. It's interesting how God designed things. But you're absolutely correct. If there is a poison, there is an antidote, because we live in a reciprocal universe. Everything is dependent on everything else. There is not one thing on planet Earth that is by itself that does not require something else to survive. Not one thing. That does not speak to random evolution. That speaks to a clear and perfect design. Which is why, if you have any common sense, you believe in God. Now, we can argue till the cows come home as to what God, or who God, or why God, or where God. But is God? That's not even a question. And Walter says, Amy, Roundup and glyphosate are not used as a preservative. They are to kill and dry the crops. But it's still on the crop when harvested, and it's consumed. Right on. And Rachel says, Kevin, seems like the end of the world. Why? Why would that seem like the end of the world? I'm personally not allergic to anything. I'm pretty sure I could drink bleach and get away with it. But I know a lot of people that have allergies. Amy says, poison ivy plant growing. There will be plantains growing nearby. Not the banana thing. It's a different kind of plantain. I got you. Aaron says, knowledge is power to the powerless. So true. And a wise observation, Aaron. Knowledge is the key to understanding is knowledge. And the more that you know, the better you can grapple with things that you don't know, which is why it's power. And having it in your brain is not the power, but knowing how to get it is. For example, if I want to know how to do brain surgery, if you give me a week and a book, I'm pretty sure I can figure it out. That's power, because I know where to look. I know how to go get knowledge. I don't know that I would be good at it. That probably would take time to practice and all that. But as far as knowing it, I'm pretty sure I could figure it out in a week. And you could too. Here's the problem with brain surgery, though. We don't know what that thing is. If you talk to the top brain scientist in the world, and I've listened to him talk several times, he'll tell you up front, we don't have a clue how that thing works, where it came from, or why it does what it does. But we're interested in figuring it out. It's the only thing in the world that has no moving parts and is not made out of anything that could create electricity, yet it does. And Rachel says, Aaron, I don't know who you're calling powerless. People that have no knowledge, which is in the statement. Knowledge is power to the powerless. powerless would be the people that have no knowledge. And Rachel says, Aaron, just because you read a book doesn't make you all-knowing. But okay, nobody said that either. Rachel, what is the matter with you? Why are you trying to pick fights with people? I love you, girl, but you're taking things too literally. Relax. Take a step back from the ledge. Amy says he was not directing it at you, Rachel Hun. No, he wasn't. Amy says it was a statement in general. Yes. Rachel says, I'm getting really annoyed, Lamau. Why? That's the question. Why are you getting so annoyed when people are trying to have a decent conversation that does not include pointing it at you? Why are you getting annoyed by it? This new medicine clearly is not working. Have a nice night. And I hope that you can get it worked out, honey. And Aaron says, 7. Or bye and peace. Or something. I don't know what that means. Walter says, the vitamin content of trail mix is generally pretty good. Because it's got nuts in it. Kevin says, Jake, hell no, no vaccine. Right on. Me neither. I was asking because I was wondering what may have caused the allergy to the sun. Amy says, Walter, it's called something different on the ingredient label. And we are both correct. Sorry, my chat jumped again. Where'd it go?
9:33.
9:33. Ah. Linda says, Amy, jewelweed is used to combat poison ivy. It dries it up. And we make a soap for farmers and landscapers for it. But plantains is a drawing plant and can help. Right on. And Walter says the appendix is a little dead. The appendix is a little dead end pocket that keeps guy bacteria off to the side, out of the way. And when you get a serious stomach problem, the appendix stores the seed bacteria to recolonize you. Okay? And it also helps you digest roots and seeds. I'm sure it does have something to do with bacteria, but your gut is full of bacteria. Flora is what they call it, gut flora. You can also fix that by drinking some kombucha, which is really good for your stomach. Amy says, I look at poison ivy and get it, right? I can hold it in both hands and rub it all over my chest. It don't bother me at all. Kevin says, Jake, I worked for 40 years as a heavy equipment mechanic, and I can no longer do that due to back injuries. And now I work with a swimming pool maintenance company. Cool. Is that better on you? Do you ever get to get in the pool? I spent a lot of years laying block and roofing houses and stuff. I can't do any of that either. Working iron work, stuff like that. I'm glad I don't do that anymore. Linda says, Amy, my son Davey gets it real bad too. And RJ too. Poison ivy? Yeah. A lot of people are very, very affected by poison ivy. It doesn't bother me for some reason.
But mosquitoes make you swell up.
Yeah, if I get bit by a mosquito, I get a whelp like that on my arm. And itch, burn. So whatever mosquitoes do to numb, it don't work for me. It's the opposite. And Walter says, Kevin, I took work on heavy equipment. I feel your pain. I too work on heavy equipment. Yes. Yeah, that kind of stuff is hard work. Amy says, please hit that like button and share, everybody. Yeah, there's 11 people in chat currently and only 9 likes. Hit that like button, everybody. Also, like, subscribe, share, support, join, and yeah, if you can. It's been a pretty good night. A lot of information spread around. That's the way we like it. Walter says, yeah, RJ should have gone to the hospital. Up for. Did he get really bad poison ivy? Bill Bennett's here. He says, hello, UntetheredLive family. Happy Saturday. COVID was a test run for. Hey, Bill, how are you? Yeah, I've always said that it was not the mark of the beast, but it was definitely that kind of thing. They were definitely pushing to see if they could get away with it. I believe that wholeheartedly. Never, ever, ever give up your ground was the moral of that story. If you have freedoms, hang on to them, because they will definitely push you in situations where they try to take it from you. And Walter says, hey, Bill. And Amanda says, hi, Bill.
Hi, Bill.
Amy says, hi, Bill. Glad you're here. And Kevin says, Jake, it seems permanent. I've been dealing with it for more than 3 years. Well, I hope that you get better from that. And that's a terrible situation to be in. Just keep treating it the best you can and make sure your vitamin D stays up, and hopefully that'll help some. Kevin says, hello, Bill. And Linda says, my vitamin B is so low I have to get the shots at my doctor's office. See, I didn't know that vitamin B was a necessary thing at all. I thought you took that to increase your energy and your I can't think of the word, where your brain kicks into gear. Dopamine, I don't think that's it. One of those. Serotonin, one of those. I can't remember. But yeah, does it help? Does it give you energy? Do you feel able to move? Amy says, Dr. Monroe, I think was his name. Dr. Monroe. And Amy says, Linda, my husband had to give himself the shots too. They offered to do it at the doctor's office, but he hated doctors. I don't blame him. I do too. I won't go unless I'm dying. And Linda says, Walter, now RJ has a supply of the salve we make.
I wonder if it's frowned upon if you bring a patient in hogtied.
Oh, probably.
Just asking for a friend.
You better have a couple of friends with you if you're planning on hog-tying me. Linda says, I understand hating the doctor's office. Right on. Walter says, Linda, you and Dina teamed up again. Batshit crazy. What's up? What's up, Bat? Nice to see you.
Hi, Bat.
Thanks for coming and seeing us tonight. And we're just talking random nonsense about medical stuff. Trying to see how little we know about everything. Amy says, hey, Bat. And Walter says, hi, Bat. Kevin says, hello, Bat. Batshit says, negative dissociation. All right. What is that in reference to? Amy says, I tried Zoloft. It made me feel like a zombie. I've never tried that one. I tried that Prozac one time, and the effect terrified me. I could have become a serial killer, and it wouldn't have bothered me at all. Don't need any of that.
You are a serial killer. Boxes of cereal.
Yeah, I guess you're right. And Linda says, Walter, I stayed to myself for a while, but have been going to the shop lately. Amy says, possibly the number of autoimmune diseases will increase in the next decade. I'm blaming the COVID vaccine. Well, I don't know if that particular thing is what's going to cause it, but they're definitely pushing it. So I agree that we're probably going to see people get weaker and weaker as time goes on, as we have been seeing for the past 50 years. That's not the only thing that's going. Sperm count is going down. The amount of babies we're having is going down. The number of people that are overweight are going up. The number of people that are not being educated is going up. There's a lot of things changing in our society that is not for the better. It's going to be like another 50 years, and those people will not be recognizable for the people of 50 years ago. They won't even be recognizable as the same thing. Linda Davis says, Walter, Robert is MIA, so, you know. It's the inside joke. Walter says, Linda, that's a good thing. Linda says, I agree, Amy. My cousin's wife is dealing with it, and she was a nurse and was forced to take it. Yeah, they ought to be able to have some kind of lawsuit about that, about being forced to take it, like all the Army people that were kicked out if they didn't take it, and all the professionals that lost their jobs if they didn't take it. There ought to be some kind of lawsuit about that, considering what's come out in the past couple of weeks. Turns out Dr. Fauci was a really bad dude. Interestingly enough, he was involved in the AIDS pandemic back in the 90s, in the 80s too. He's the reason that what was it, AZT came out, which is just as bad as having AIDS. Kind of makes you wonder. Remember how scared we all were back in those days? We didn't want to walk barefooted or drink after people because we thought we'd get AIDS from it. Might step on a spit bubble like it, would stay there and get in a cut or something. They were told all kinds of things like that. Turns out, if you grow up and get married and sleep with a woman you love and don't play around and don't pump dudes behind dumpsters at gas stations and don't wear rollerblades, your chances of catching AIDS is almost zero. Interesting how that works. Also, if you go to Africa and look at their AIDS, it's different than the AIDS here. Try that out for good size, good measure. Amy says, my husband, my son, and I were in a difficult situation. We got it. All three of us have complications afterwards. Linda, I regret it. I was lucky enough to resist. And the funny thing about it is, I would have been one of the first people in line to get that vaccination because I believe in vaccines, like the polio vaccine and all of that, smallpox, that whole thing. And I was on board right up until they started saying you have to get it. And then I was like, wait a minute. I don't think the government should be involved in this situation. This is a personal choice. And the more they pushed, the further away from it I got. I was like, no, you're not going to force me to take anything. I don't care who you are. That tells me right there there's something going on. And a lot of people managed to hold their ground on that, but a lot of people were in a position where they couldn't. And it's no reflection on you if you were in that situation because they made it very difficult. I don't blame anybody that took it. And I don't blame anybody that believed in the system while they took it at first. But after what's gone on in the last 4 years, if you still believe in the system, if you still think that they were in the right, you ain't paying attention. Walter Davis says DDT was a pesticide. Glyphosate is a herbicide. Okay. Amy says, we all worked for the same employer. It put us in a rock and a hard place type situation. And my son had 2 seizures from the Pfizer one. Yeah. Unfortunately, a lot of people were affected by that. And a lot of people were affected by that cardiomyopathy. How you say it? I can't think of the word,
Cardiomyopathy, whatever it is.
No, I can't think of it either. But the enlarged heart thing that was going on. A lot of young people were dropping dead and having heart issues. And they were finding tendrils of long white strands of stuff in the bloodstreams of dead people when they take bodies to the morgue, and they were finding these long tendrils in their bloodstreams and stuff. They said they'd never seen anything like it. That's what that stuff did. It caused a cytokine storm that caused people to go into, their body just went into overdrive, and they were producing all kinds of things that was not good for them. It was a very bad situation. Also, that was not a vaccine. They actually changed the definition of the word vaccine so that they could call it a vaccine. It was actually a gene treatment. That's what it actually was. It messed with your mRNA, changed it. It was not a vaccine. It was a gene therapy. Why they made that distinction, I don't know. But it is a distinction. And I did a show about it where we read the scientific paperwork and got down to the bottom of what it actually was. I don't remember it all now. That's not my area of expertise. And also, I'm not a doctor, so you shouldn't listen to me. But it was interesting to read. Amy says the adverse reactions were horrible. It was like every injury I've ever had suddenly came back. I'm glad we're through that, and I hope that nobody falls for that ever again. Linda says diatomaceous earth works best for getting rid of fleas and bed bugs, and it's natural. Yeah, I didn't know any of that. All I knew is that they seemed to be smarter than me, and every time I thought I'd killed them all, they came back. Until I went on a hunting spree and literally killed each and every one of them with my pocket knife. That's the only way I got rid of them. And then got everything out of the house. Burned all the beds and stuff. Yeah, I had no idea that diatomaceous earth would kill them. I didn't know that, or I would have covered everything with it. Amy says, it made undiagnosed conditions surface. Almost like drinking sassafras tea, huh? If there's anything wrong with you, it's coming out. Walter says, Linda, Kate, and the shots and the boosters, and now has CID bad. I don't know what that means. Kate had the shots and the boosters and now has CID bad. Now has COVID and it's bad. I think that's what you're saying. With the shots and the boosters. Yeah. A vaccine is supposed to cure you from the thing, right? Not supposed to allow you to get it after you've been vaccinated and boosted. Interestingly enough, I didn't have the vaccine or the boosters, and I've only had it twice. Although the first time I got it right when they first started talking about it, while it was still in China and they didn't think it was here yet. That's when I got it. One of the early cases, and it was very, very bad. I was sick for like 5 months over that. I thought I had cancer. I didn't know I had COVID because I didn't know anything about it. And I was wheezing and getting lightheaded, and I couldn't talk without getting ready to pass out. Just the talking itself would make me want to pass out. So I thought I was in for it, you know. And I felt like something was really wrong inside of me. I felt like I was broken in some kind of way, and I didn't know how to describe it. It was definitely something foreign that I've never felt before. And eventually I got better. And the next time I got COVID, it was 3 days of being sick, and it was over. Easy. But now I have a natural immunity to it because I went through it, which is the way you deal with things like that. Aaron says diatomaceous earth is cancerous until it hits water. Really? I didn't know that either. I'll have to look into that one. Cancerous? Aaron says they use it in the pool filter too. Kevin says, Aaron, all the chemicals for pools are bad for you. Yes, they are. Thank you. Thank you very much. Aaron says, not baking soda, LOL. No, it's not baking soda. Baking soda is actually an interesting thing. Walter says diatomaceous earth is soil with a high congestion of dead diatoms in it. I didn't know it was cancerous, only tough on the shells of insects. Yeah. I didn't know it was cancerous either, but a diatom is a little microscopic critter that lives in the ocean. And if you get enough of them in an area, you have diatomaceous area. And my chat jumped again. Where we at?
9:53.
9:53.
Helps if I turn my mic on.
It does. Walter says, I don't get Rachel's comments. I didn't either. That's why I asked. Aaron says, she thought I was talking to her. Maybe. I think she's just in a bad mood. Sometimes that happens. Linda says, yep, you were not supposed to breathe it in and wear eye protection while using it, Walter. Right on. Aaron says, I wasn't. Yeah, we know. Amy says, you never know what someone is going through, right? And they take things out on others, not to hurt the other person, but to express their own hurt. Understood. Kevin says, Rachel, I don't believe anyone here has any issues with you. Quite the opposite. I think we all are looking out for you. Amen. Amy says, exactly, Kevin. And Linda says, Walter, what is CID? I think he was trying to write COVID is bad. Or was bad. I think. I'm not really sure.
Yes, that's what he was trying to say.
Aaron says, I loved Rachel. She is loved, Rachel. Yes, Rachel is loved. Walter says, COVID. We got it. We figured it out. Amy says, on a side note, a comic relief. I eat like a bird, a hummingbird, that eats 100 times its body weight every day. You eat like a very large hummingbird, right? With a voracious appetite. Aaron says, did you know it flies like 200 miles an hour? A hummingbird? Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Their wings beat so fast. It's almost, I did know something about this, but I can't remember it right now. It has something to do with how fast their wings beat. They can levitate and stay perfectly still in the air, which is something no other animal seems to be able to do. And they look amazing. They might be aliens.
Hummingbirds are awesome.
They're also one of the only animals that can fly backwards. Aaron says, my mom loved hummingbirds. I used to think she was weird, and now I think she was great. Isn't it weird how when you grow up, you develop a newfound respect for your parents that you did not realize when you were that age? Amy says, Aaron, I've seen slow motion cameras of hummingbirds. They're amazing creatures. Yes, they are. Aaron says, that sounds cool. I bet it is. I've seen some of those too. It's been a while, but I have seen them. And it's very interesting the way that they're built and the way they operate. I think God knew what he was doing. And I think he built those to delight people. Because it's delightful to watch a hummingbird. And also they're smart too. I saw a video the other day of a hummingbird that went and rang a doorbell and got somebody's attention to come outside, and their partner was caught in a spider web. That was interesting. And Linda says, I love hummingbirds too. Amy says, I saw a monarch butterfly the other day and I thought of my dad. I think it was a sign from him. Could have been. Or it could have been a monarch butterfly.
I was sitting outside the other day and there was 3 cardinals flying around our backyard. Yep. It was so pretty.
Yeah, we have a lot of red birds around here. Red birds and hummingbirds too, and I used to have hummingbird feeders everywhere, but I don't know if they're still out there or not.
There's one up front still.
You ought to bring them in and put some sugar water in them.
No, we have too many cats.
What's that got to do with hummingbirds?
I watch the cats jump midair to get flies and bugs and stuff all day long.
Jump that high.
They're going to aggravate the birds. No, I don't want to take that chance.
Aaron says, my mom would feed them and they would hover in the yard. Yep. They're a beautiful sight to behold, that's for sure. Amy says, okay, I give up. Time to put on stretch pants. Right on. Or just take the pants off and let it fly. Let the air get to it. Aaron says, LOL. Why? Probably to be comfortable. Probably to get tired of wearing clothes. And Debbie says, just take your pants off and join the No Pants Club, Amy.
That part.
That part. And Kevin says, Debbie, pictures or it never happened. LOL. Right on. And Linda says, extreme low vitamin B can cause a multitude of problems, not just low energy. See, I didn't know that. Linda says, look it up, Jake. You will be surprised. I will. I'll check into it. Aaron says, maybe I have low vitamin B. Probably. They
Go ahead. Sorry.
They did the same thing with Agent Orange. Oh, Lord. That was a bad situation there. All those guys in Vietnam, they had no idea what was being sprayed on them.
Aaron said he's got good vitamin D and low vitamin B. Amy, Aaron needs help.
Linda says, Robert practices witchcraft, so I had to distance myself from him or unalive him. Right on. Yeah, stay away from people like that, Linda. That's not good for your soul. Just being around that sort of thing is an invitation, and you don't want to invite things like that into your life. I promise you that. Amanda says,
that's for you to read. You read that.
okay. Jake says, low vitamin B levels can cause a wide range of symptoms, including fatigue, weakness, nerve problems like numbness and tingling, check, 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 mood changes, check, depression, anxiety, check, and cognitive issues such as confusion or memory loss. Deficiencies can also lead to physical symptoms like pale or yellowish skin, check, 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 check. No yellow skin, though. And a sore tongue, check. In severe or prolonged cases, the deficiency can cause permanent damage to the nervous system, making early diagnosis and treatment crucial. Interesting. Aaron says, whoa. Yeah, I didn't know all that. I might be deficient in vitamin B. Kevin says, RMNA is defined as a vaccine, but traditionally a vaccine is made from dead or weakened virus cells, correct? That is correct. So technically what the vaccine was a gene therapy. It alters your DNA. What that's for, I don't know. But you can write it down that I said so. 10 years from now, we're going to learn things about that they altered the DNA for a certain reason, and we don't know what that is right now. You can write it down that I said so. So what does too much vitamin B do? I don't know. It's a good question.
It's coming.
But yes, traditionally a vaccine is made from the illness itself. Exposure to a thing is how you build an immunity to it, which is why vaccines work. The polio vaccine was made from polio cells, weakened or dead, but you still get the virus in small doses, and that's how you build an immunity to it, and then you're able to get past it.
Same thing with smallpox and chickenpox and stuff like that.
Yeah, the reasons that the Indians died so much when the British came over, the Europeans came over, is because they had never been around those animals before. They had no exposure to that disease, so it got them like mad because they had no immunity to it. So it just wiped them out. Whereas the Europeans had the same virus, but they had been exposed to it over a lifetime of dealing with those particular types of animals and in that environment, and all had immunity to it, so it didn't affect them. The Indians eventually built immunity and were able to survive it, but it took time. And that happens anytime you mix cultures, which is why God says to not do that, by the way. If you look in the Bible, it's very serious about not mixing. And it's because a small environment builds up a system that it can function in. But if you take that system and put an outsider in it, that outsiders has no immunity to anything that's going on in that small cluster. So you can't do that. If that made any sense at all. Amanda says, an enlarged heart cardiomegalia. Monkey Juice is here. Hey, Monkey Juice. A long story short is this was new to everybody. Live and learn. Yes. Kevin says, hello, Monkey Juice. Amy says, I'm back. I feel better. I washed up and put on clean clothes. Nice. Stretchy pants? Or no pants? Monkey Juice says, took all 3 shots and I'm good. Congratulations. I took none of them and I'm good too. And I didn't have a system telling me what to do, so. Amy says, hi, Monkey Juice. And Amanda says, taking too much of a certain B vitamins, especially in supplement form, can lead to negative health effects like nerve damage, skin rashes, headaches, and digestive problems. Those symptoms
and severity vary.
I got it. Those symptoms and severity vary by the specific vitamin. While most B vitamins are water soluble and excreted in urine, extremely high doses of specific ones, such as vitamin B6, can accumulate in the body and cause serious complications like peripheral neuropathy. It's essential to follow recommended doses on supplements and consult a healthcare provider if you experience any of these symptoms. Right. Okay, that makes sense.
Oh, that helps, Aaron.
Yeah, don't take too much of that stuff. Aaron says, welcome back. Monkey Juice says, hello, Amy. Debbie says, we can all play 7 degrees to adverse reactions or death. Someone should have to pay for that. I agree. Aaron says, so too little and too much cause the same thing. That's wild. Too much and too little cause the same thing. Yes. Monkey Juice says, I had all 3 and I never got it. Or you had it and didn't know you had it. Because that's possible too. Aaron says, Monkey Juice, hello. The one thing I know about COVID-19 is that everyone on planet Earth is going to have it. You can't get away from it. That's what that kind of virus does. It's airborne and everyone's going to get it. Now, what reaction you have to it's a different story. Some people it's going to be worse. Some people not so much. It has to do with what kind of health you're in. It has to do with what kind of exposure you have to that virus. But everybody's going to get it. You can't escape it. There's no sense in being scared of it, and wearing a mask ain't going to stop it. Kevin says, as far as COVID goes, the only thing our government got right was wash your hands. Prove me wrong. Oh, you're right. You should wash your hands as a practice anyway, but you're right.
I'm forever washing my hands.
Amy says 650 milligrams of Tylenol is my new best friend. Monkey Juice says COVID shots is supposed to curve COVID, not cure it. Well, then why take it at all? Why not just get it and then you don't have to worry about it anymore? Because that's how immunity works. Hang on, my chat jumped. I'm getting there.
Um, 10-12.
I got it. Amy says, But the traditional definition of a vaccine was to teach your body to develop antibodies to fight off the disease or virus. Right. Amy says the immune system is a wonderful thing when it works correctly. Well, see, I'm of the opinion that God don't make mistakes, and he knew exactly what he was doing when he designed this body, which is why I wasn't worried about it. From the get-go, when I heard about it, I was not worried about it because I know God knows what he's doing, and this body works just right. It's supposed to do what it does. And you're right, the immune system is a wonderful thing. And Monkey Juice says, I made the right choice for sure. So did I. Kevin says, Monkey, they said if you get the jab, you won't get COVID. And then they said if you get the COVID symptoms, won't be that bad. And then they said if you get the jab, you won't pass it on to others. They were wrong on all accounts. They were that, which is why it was a problem. Not getting the jab. No one is faulting you for getting a vaccine. We're faulting the government for lying about it and repeatedly doubling down on the lie. Kevin says every time. Right on. Amanda?
Did you get it, Monkey?
He says no, he didn't get the virus, which I don't believe. I believe that you got it and didn't know you had it, or you haven't got it yet, but you will. It is an airborne virus. You cannot escape it. Everyone is going to get it. Amy says the left side of my body was paralyzed for a couple of days. I didn't make the right decision, but to each their own. It should not have been mandated. Agreed. And Kevin says, Muggy, the only thing they got right was wash your hands. Muggy says, it does minimize it for sure, Kevin. Can we agree on that? I don't. Amy says, exactly, Kevin. I think that if you got one of the batches that wasn't tainted, if you managed to get through that okay and got the vaccine, I think that you are going to get COVID anyway, but it may help, it may not. But in my opinion, that's not enough reason to put a foreign agent in my body. So it minimizes it. So, sick is sick. Even if it does minimize it, you're not going to be thinking that while you're sick of it. So why not just get it, live through it, and then be done with it? And then you don't have to worry about it. If everybody did that, it would just vanish. It would go away, just like the Spanish flu did. Amy says, exactly, Kevin. And Amanda says?
Absolutely not, Monkey.
Kevin says, Monkey, there is no way to prove anything they said. Right. Aaron says, amorphous, food grade, diatomaceous earth is not considered a carcinogen. However, crystalline, filter grade diatomaceous earth, particularly after being heated or
calcined, calcined, whatever that word is, contains crystalline silic something. Amy says, in my opinion, the pandemic was the biggest overreaction in history. The biggest overreaction in history. Agreed. I don't think it was a pandemic either. I think the numbers were largely inflated. And the reason I know that to be true is because my sister owns a flower shop. And if people were dropping left and right, first of all, I would have had to step over bodies to get to the place, but her business would have went way sky high. It didn't. Amanda says, it would have ran its course just like it did. I'm just saying.
Right on.
It's just the flu.
Aaron says, it gives you lung cancer. I do inspections, and I went to a place that had it in a break room. Diatomaceous earth. Interesting. Kevin says, Amy, because the politicians the politicians are capitalizing off of COVID. Yes, they did. Had a lot of that going on.
They had sandwiches on it. Really? Oh, that's not good. I think you could get a lawsuit going for that, Aaron. Amanda said,
The jab does nothing, stops nothing, helps nothing.
Monkey says, what would happen to civilization if there wasn't anything? Well, a lot of people would have got sick, and then they would have got unsick. Some people would have died, and we would have moved on as a society. Now, take that and compare it to what actually happened, and you'll notice that a lot of people got sick, and some people died, and we moved on as a society. But then there was this other thing on top of it that got a lot of people sick that didn't need to be sick, and we lost a lot of people because of it. Almost like the cure was worse than the disease. And Amanda says,
It would go away just like it was. Just like it did. It was a human-created virus.
Kevin says, RMNA was banned from testing on humans because of the high rate of deaths in animal testing. Would smallpox go away? Smallpox did go away.
And the smallpox vaccine worked because it was created like it was supposed to be.
Right. It exposed people to smallpox until they built an immunity to it. Who is the last person that you know that had smallpox, Monkey Juice? Monkey Juice says, believe in science. No, not anymore. Science is nothing but a big lie machine that only is interested in peddling propaganda to further their own narrative. They're not interested in learning things. I believe in real science, things you can test, repeat, have peer-reviewed, and falsify. If you can't do that, it's not science. Never include anything you cannot question under the science category. And Amanda says,
The pox vaccine worked and stopped it.
Patty says, if you feed the hummingbirds, they will make that arrest stop, so you have to keep water in it or it will mess up their flight plans. Yeah, you have to keep feeding them for sure. They will definitely come back to your feeder. And Kevin says, Monkey, LOL. Monkey, how do you feel about Dr. Fauci? And Monkey says, take your chances, people. It's your life. Exactly. It is our life, and we don't need anybody else telling us how to live it. And by the way, my chances are just fine. Amy says, I need to get a new bathtub faucet. Wow. The thing I pull up to turn on the shower won't stay up. I need a new one. In the meantime, I've been getting creative to stay clean. You could always just pull it up and duct tape it and just use that for a shower. Monkey Juice says, hey, Kevin, spray Lysol down your throat to kill COVID like you fearless leader said. Well, he didn't say that, so you're incorrect. You need to go back and actually listen to what he said. He didn't say that, and what he said made sense because it was exactly what they were studying at the time.
I think what he's referring to is when Trump said to take an injection of Lysol, but he was being sarcastic and trolling the left for the left to run with it, and that's exactly what they did.
Yeah. By the way, Monkey Juice, all the people that didn't take the jab are still here. Unless they were involved with a comorbidity, which is natural for a virus of any kind. All of the healthy people that refused the jab are still here. Kevin says, Monkey, LOL. Monkey just says, remember that? Remember that? No. I remember that you guys have nothing to fight with, so you bring up nonsense that everybody knew was nonsense when it was being said, and it doesn't help your argument at all. Aaron says, Amy, you know how to change it? I guess the faucet. You know how to fix the faucet? If you had another one, would you know what to do with it? That's what he's asking. Kevin says, Muggy, now you're just being an ass. It's all right. That Trump hatred has got to go somewhere. Amy says, Kevin, when I hear that name, I think of the Beagles and the inhumane experiments he sanctioned on them. Oh, yeah. You ought to look into that, Monkey Juice. Live TV. There's no dispute, says Monkey. What's no dispute? What are you talking about?
Yeah, he did say it. He was joking. He said it with a shit-eating grin on his face.
Kevin says, Monkey, LOL. Amy says, I'll have my son fix it, Aaron. I just need to get the new fixture. And Linda says, LOL, Monkey, get it right. It was bleach. If you want to be an ass. Yeah, it was bleach. It wasn't Lysol. Linda says, LOL, Muggy, get it right. It was bleach. I read that one. Kevin says, Muggy, yeah, and inject bleach too. Lamau. Muggy says, LOL, whatever. Well, you know, nobody actually did that apart from the Democrat that did it to make headlines and also kind of wanted to kill her husband. I did pick up on that little fact. She was still here, but the husband died. And also they were using it from a fish dispensary of some kind. I don't remember the details now. Aaron says, I'll message you, Amy. Amy says, my daughter was a preemie, and when she was in the NICU, they gave her breathing treatments of a bleach solution to help her lungs, which is what Trump was talking about, that very thing. Yeah, but normal people don't know stuff like that. So when they hear things like that, they run with it, which is what they did at the time. What Trump was talking about, he was talking hyperbolically about a real treatment for other things involving the lungs. Turns out he was actually right about that. If you go do some research, you'll find out. But, you know, believe what you want to believe. I don't let the government tell me what to put in my body. Kevin says, Monkey, the media twisted all of Trump's words to make him look bad. If you don't see that, there's nothing I can do to help you. Right. We got scientists in the house. Well, actually, we do, Monkey. I am a scientist. Aaron says, yup. And Kevin says, Monkey, no. You're the only scientist here. Well, no, I am a scientist. What do you think a scientist is? Pardon me. Yeah, that's something I've heard a lot. Well, trust the science. Well, what do you think a scientist is? What do you think that means, a scientist? A scientist is someone who is interested in science and does experiments to learn using science. A lot of times they have some sort of degree, but not necessary. There's a lot of scientists that didn't have any degrees. A lot of famous ones.
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Well, he's got degrees, but not in science. Wow. Amy says, my daughter was born at 31 weeks. Wow. Aaron says, I didn't know you had a daughter. Amanda says,
Actually, Trump said take an injection of Lysol, but he was being a smartass and the left took him seriously like a bunch of dummies, because Trump's the best troll ever.
Well, there's that.
Just saying.
I never heard him say that, but I believe you.
He said take an injection of something. I recall it was Lysol. And I think he said something about drinking bleach or inhaling bleach.
I did hear the bleach comment,
Yeah,
but I didn't hear the Lysol one.
It was something about inhaling bleach or something.
But if you'll look on the bottle of your Lysol, if you look down at the bottom, it says fights COVID right there on the bottle. And it's been there for years.
You guys know that cows carry COVID, right?
Amy says a person doesn't need a degree to have common sense. Correct. Amy says, Aaron, my daughter is 34 and she has a degree in neuroscience. Nice. Linda Davis says, Monkey, my sister was a biochemist that made vaccines and MS drugs, and she refused to take the shots. Anybody that had any common sense refused to take that shot because it was not good for you. Aaron says, that is so cool, Linda and Amy. Monkey Juice says, immunity doesn't work in everyone, Jake. We're not created equally. Well, I've never met a person that was not immunity compromised, that the immune system did not function properly. I'm not suggesting that there aren't some people that don't have issues, but if your body works the way it was intended to work, it works just fine. And if it doesn't, then you probably need to think about some things. I never said that you shouldn't take the vaccine. I said you shouldn't take the vaccine because it was forced on you. There are people where it makes sense. But there's a lot of things being discovered about that vaccine that we did not know at the time. Like the fact that most of them were contaminated with something and that they rushed it out and that proper protocols were not followed. All kinds of things like that, which turns out to work at the detriment of everyone who took it.
Now there's people having seizures and stuff because of them.
And I agree with you 100% that not everyone is created equally. The Bible doesn't say that, and neither does anything in history or in nature. Everyone is not created equally. Some people have a double portion. Some people only have half a portion. Some people have a portion. That's just the way of the world. A portion of what, you might ask? Well, whatever the world has to offer. Amanda says,
my last born was born at 30 weeks, spent 5 weeks in ICU.
Kevin says, monkey immunity comes from recovering from a virus. True. If your body works the way it's supposed to work, you get exposed to nature, you exposed to the world, and your body builds immunities to the germs and viruses that come in contact with you, so that when you come in contact with it stronger, your body can fight it. That's the way it works, and it works just fine. That's why you should touch dirt as a child. And you shouldn't Nerf everything, and you shouldn't use hand sanitizer, and you shouldn't clean everything so it's so clean that there's nothing on it. All of those things are bad for you. Bill Bennett says, anytime the people in charge say you have to do this or you will die, do the opposite. Amen, Bill. I'm with you there. Allow me to point you to the Tuskegee experiments if you think I'm wrong. Ask Bill Clinton what he thought about it. That's where they give a whole population of African Americans syphilis to see how they lived. They didn't know it. They were told they were getting a vaccine, but they got syphilis and were not treated for it. That was a government program. Amy says, Amanda, preemies are wonderful. My daughter was 3 pounds and 2 ounces and 15 inches long. Terrifying. Amanda says,
yes, definitely, Amy.
Amy says, my daughter gets a booster every few months, and she had COVID 3 times. Aaron says, mine was 27 inches, Amy, and they couldn't measure her almost. Wow. Monkey says, maybe I did get it, but I believe the shot cured the symptoms. Well, it may have.
Curved
the symptoms. It may have. I'm not suggesting that all the vaccines were bad. A lot of them were. A lot of people got sick for no reason. A lot of people died for no reason. But in some cases, it does make sense. But that's a thing you should take up with your doctor. You shouldn't have the government force it on you. And when you cut the doctor out and say the doctor has no say here, we're the government, we're going to tell you you have to have it, there's a problem here. That's not how it works. Surely you can see that. Linda says, Amy, both my biological sons were preemies. And Amanda says,
my son was born 4 pounds, 9 ounces, and 17 inches long. It was crazy how his tiny body looked with all them machines hooked up to him.
I would not have slept that entire time.
I didn't sleep for days. And he was born C-section, so I was on heavy medication.
27 inches, says Amy. OMG, that's a huge baby.
Definitely.
Aaron says, yep, 8.5 ounces.
8 pounds, 5 ounces.
She's tall now. That's what I said, 8.5. Kevin says, there is no way to prove that your symptoms were less because you got the jab. That's also true. But I don't disagree with you. I'm sure if you feel that way, then that's wonderful. And thank God you didn't have any adverse effects because of it. But all you have to do is a cursory search to find many, 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 many people who did not have that experience. Many people. So many that it's not even funny how much they're ignored. Bill Bennett says, Big Pharma bad. I agree. Amy says, my son was almost 10 pounds. Wow. Both of my children were born 5 pounds even. I make small babies. Aaron says, bowling ball. Kevin says, my daughter worked at it in an ICU during COVID, and they had lots of people in there that got the jab. Kevin says, they lied to you at every turn. Exactly. Bill Bennett says, I was 2 pounds, 4 ounces in 1980, almost 3 months early, and I'm 6'2" and 220 pounds. 6 foot tall and 220 pounds now. Wow. Muggy says, 1 million Americans died from COVID. Fact, especially Red Florida. Just saying. I disagree with that number.
I can prove that number wrong because I had family member that died during COVID that had absolutely nothing to do with COVID, and they still counted it as a COVID death. Everybody that died during COVID got counted under a COVID death, whether you died from COVID or not.
Aaron says, good job, Bill. Linda says, one was 32 weeks, 7.5 pounds. And one was 28 weeks and 6.6 pounds. Can you imagine if I went full term? Ugh. Yep, I can't imagine giving birth to a baby in any kind of capacity, but good on you ladies for putting up with that. That's hard to do. Amy says, Dr. Burks admitted it on live TV. If a person was positive and died of something else, they counted it as a COVID death. The guy wrecked his motorcycle and decapitated and was tested positive. COVID death. Right. Yeah, you're just guessing. I'm not guessing. I don't guess. And I'm sorry that that's abrasive to your way of living, but all you have to do is look. The information is out there. I'm not the one creating it, nor am I the one trying to hide it. It's out there. Just look. I'm sorry, but what the news said about the numbers of people that died was incorrect. That many people did not die. The death toll for that year barely rose from its typical amount every year. Go look at the overall average death tolls of America for the past 20 years, and you'll see a little spike during the COVID years, but it's not anything to write home about. That many people would have died anyway. People die. That's how life works. Every day, people die. Every year, people die. Sometimes they attribute it to things that didn't cause it. Amy says, wow, Bill, that's incredible. And Amanda says,
I don't even know where we're at.
They counted every death to COVID, even if it wasn't a COVID-related death.
Yes.
Aaron says, we are almost the same size, Bill. Well, I'm 6'2" from the waist up. Debbie says, I read that during the pandemic that no more people died than that year than other years. The difference was the cause of COVID. COVID seemed to cure cancer and the flu and other diseases that year. And Kevin says, exactly, Debbie, and that's what I'm trying to say. There was no more people died than every year. Maybe a little bit. It was a little bit of a raise in number. But they also didn't count all the other deaths everything went to COVID. That's why the number was so big. Amy says, the death ticker on CNN mysteriously disappeared when Biden was elected. More people died from COVID under his administration, even with 3 vaccines. Interesting. Bill Bennett says, good Lord gave us free will. And he said hi. Yes, he did. Right. Kevin says, Monkey, by your logic, everyone that didn't get the jab should have perished. But we didn't. And Kevin says, but yet, here we are, alive and well. Monkey Juice says, come on, Amanda. He was dead serious. Come on, Amanda, he was dead serious. No, he wasn't. Talking about Trump still. No, he wasn't. Just like the title of tonight's subject. Trump has floated the idea of banning guns for trans people. He wasn't serious about that either. I don't think he'll get that passed. But it did have the desired effect of people freaking out. And if you want to know what the problem is, look at what people freak out about. That's where the problem's at. Aaron says, what is the jab? It is the vaccination for COVID-19. And we say the jab because YouTube don't like us talking about it, and I'll probably get taken down for this at some point. Which is how you know I'm on the right track, because people don't try to censor people that aren't telling the truth. You never get in trouble for telling lies. You only get in trouble for telling the truth. Amy says, some of us who took the jab are still here but live with adverse side effects. Bill Bennett says, the Operation Warp Speed was pretty impressive. All the red tape, less meds in our bodies, and better chance. You have my humble opinion. And Kevin says, Monkey, Trump was commenting on what the medical doctors were saying. Right. And Amy says, my nervous system hasn't been the same since I was manipulated into getting it. And that is the problem. The manipulation part. Not the vaccine, the manipulation. Bill Bennett says, looks like a full moon and feels like full bah humbug. Yeah, I don't doubt it. Bill, I feel the same way. I'm barely hanging on myself. Kevin says, my daughter ended up losing her job in the hospital for not getting the jab. She was probably the person in the hospital you needed to talk to. Patty says, it is the blood moon. Ooh, interesting. Amy says, Bill, I hope you start feeling more positive. God is great and wants us to enjoy his blessings. Amen to that. Monkey Juice says, why would the president be joking about COVID on live TV when thousands were dying? Really, wake up. Thousands weren't dying, and he was joking because it's ridiculous. And everybody that has a brain knows that. And I am very much awake, by the way. I know what's good for you and what ain't. And I'll be here long after you are. And Patty says, hi, Bill. Mr. Bill. Kevin says, my daughter lost her job long after COVID because everyone in the hospital was hostile towards her for not getting the jab, like a good cult leader or member would be. That whole thing was a cult. If you're still in it after everything that's been uncovered, that's on you, buddy, not me. Hang on. I got to roll some cigarettes.
Oh, no. I thought you were going to bed as soon as the podcast was over. Huh?
Yeah, I did. Linda says, 8 people in my house got the virus and I never caught it while taking care of them all. I never took the shot. Well, that's because you were exposed to it and your body built the immunity it needed and you never got it, which is great. Amy says, oh, that's not right, Kevin. It isn't. Kevin says, Amy, Jake's chat's about to jump. As it is wont to do often. I will find it eventually. Here we go. Amy, lots of things are not right in this world, says Kevin. And you are so right about that, Kevin. Patty says, Linda, I believe you. Debbie says, Monkey, have you ever been in a meeting that people just spitball ideas? That is what happened. They were talking about things like bleach and lemon juice killing the virus on contact, which it can and does do. Trump was not wrong in what he said. It was a little tongue-in-cheek, but he was not wrong. There turns out that they made fun of him about talking about ultraviolet light, like putting ultraviolet light in your lungs, which is the thing you're conflating with him drinking bleach, that whole thing. Turns out that's an actual treatment for viruses in the lungs. He wasn't wrong. Just because you don't know about it doesn't make it not so. Amy says, Airplane 2. The sequel is on in the background. It's just as funny as the first one. I love Airplane. Kevin says, lots of people that got the jab are hostile towards the people that didn't. That's because they don't want to be in the club that screwed up. They can't believe they were that dumb to be duped. So they have to make the other guy the enemy. That's the only way they can live with what they did. And then Trump said, Debbie says, and then Trump said we need something like bleach to inject. Context matters. Right. Yeah, he was never suggesting that you actually inject yourself with bleach. That's not what he said. Kevin says, Monkey, whatever happened to the winter of death that Biden talked about, right? If it was such a big problem, how come we don't still have COVID killing people in the numbers that it was originally doing? Unless those numbers weren't real. Does anyone here get the flu shot? No, sir. I do not purposely inject myself with viruses because I'm not capable of getting it on my own. Maybe some people get the flu shot, but I don't. Patty says, I did hear that folks with it infect others as it deposits by those that are with the injection. Yeah, if you get the vaccine, you are contagious because you have portions of the virus in you. Amy says, morticians and medical examiners are finding extremely long white blood clots in the deceased that got the jab. It is not a coincidence. I said that earlier. Long white tendrils of things. That's a lot of things that has never been seen before. And Amanda says,
No, Monkey. And my stepmom got my son the flu shot once, and he was sick in and out of the hospital the entire year.
And Monkey Juice says, let's simplify this because we don't already know what we're doing. Okay, simplify ahead on. Kevin says, Trump was being advised by medical professionals. Trump has no expertise in the medical field. He was repeating what he was being told. Exactly. And why would you listen to Trump, who's not a doctor, about your health care? Why would you not just take that as a conversation that a normal layman person was having and then go consult a doctor? Why would you listen to me? I'm not a doctor. And Patty says, jacked all that up, but you can read what I tried to say. I got it. Aaron says, monkey is good for ticking night. I don't know what you mean. Monkey is good for ticking night?
Stirring the drama.
Oh, I got you. That's all right.
Monkey's got a little bit of sense, though.
Yeah, and he's also entitled to his opinion. But, it's my job to correct that. One of us is wrong, and I like telling them who they are. Debbie says, Muggy, did you know they just guess at the strain of flu that might happen in a given year? And that is why sometimes they don't work? And no, I don't and never had the flu. And there you go. I find it suspicious that you can get a flu shot at the pharmacy. If it's that big a deal, you should go to a doctor, right? Somebody who is not a nurse giving me a shot gives me the willies. Amy says, Amanda, I'm allergic to the preservatives in the flu shot, and my doctor said to get a preservative-free one if I wanted one, but didn't recommend it. And Linda Davis says, 5-second rule. That's right. Kevin says, Debbie, they have to guess what the new strain is going to be prepared for it. Right. Or, and here's a thought, take care of yourself. Be healthy. Eat right. Exercise. Go outside and get fresh air. And when the virus comes along and you get it, survive it. And then you won't have to worry about it no more because you'll have a built-in immunity to it. It's not like you're going to get the flu every year that it comes out. And if they'd quit messing with it, Monkey Juice, if they'd quit messing with it, we wouldn't have new strains every year. Part of the problem is that they keep inventing these things and screwing with it. That's why it keeps mutating. If it was left up to nature, it would just vanish. Things that happen naturally don't tend to be that bad. Things that happen because people screw with them tend to be bad for humans. You ever notice that?
And then somehow they mysteriously, unknowingly, nobody knows how, it just escapes. A virus just got up and walked out.
Yeah, how about that? Amanda says,
Right, Amy?
Monkey Juice says, exactly, Jake. Don't let anyone tell you what to do with your body. I agree with that. And I don't. Unless I ask them.
I just do whatever I want with his body. He don't care. Oops, did I say that out loud?
Monkey Juice says, my body, my choice. Now, I didn't tell you you couldn't get the vaccine. Go for it. Monkey Juice says, Kevin says, Monkey, absolutely. I agree with that. Debbie says, my nephew is a mortician, and he was talking about the worm-like clots before it was on the news. Yeah. They had to mention it on the news because it was a big thing that everybody was noticing across the United States all at once. And if they didn't say anything about it, if they just ignored it, then everybody would know they were lying to you. Kevin says, Muggy, that does not apply to abortions. Yeah, that's somebody else's body. See, women have the uncomfortable necessity of having two bodies at one time. Both individual human beings. So while she can do whatever she wants with her body, because she did whatever she wanted with her body, now she has another body to depend on her. And that body has rights too. Amy says that guy in the motorcycle wreck was decapitated and they said it was COVID. Yeah, that happened a lot. And Linda says, can't have it both ways, monkey. I caught what you were referring to. And Kevin says, not to mention, all the COVID tests were inaccurate. That's a thing, too. And Bill Bennett says, my stepmom, God rest her soul, I asked what's it like to have a baby, and she said, you try passing a watermelon. Try pissing a watermelon, LOL. Well, I don't know if it's that bad, but it's pretty rough.
It depends on how big the baby is. And if you go all natural or not.
Amy says, accurate description, Bill. Maybe. I know I don't want to do it. I've had some times in the bathroom I wasn't sure I was going to survive, so I don't know if I can handle that. Amy says, it was an experiment in population control and a cash cow. Yes. Like I said, it was not the mark of the beast, but it was definitely that kind of thing. They were definitely experimenting on that kind of rollout. Amanda says,
yes, Bill. Squeeze something the size of a cantaloupe out of something the size of a lemon.
and Monkey Juice says, okay, so let's say COVID didn't kill anyone. I didn't say that either, Monkey Juice. Kevin says, one hell of a cash cow. Yes, it was. Billions of dollars. Worldwide. It was the largest movement of money in history. And they call that something, upward trajectory wealth or something like that. I forget the phrase, but it's where they take money and put it up to the 1%. It's like the reverse effect of the trickle down economy. Is that in reverse? And it was the largest version of that in history. Amy says they wanted to test the limits on what they could get people to do and make money in the process. Also, if you go back in history, Bill Gates had a war games situation in New York City in 1999, and they played out the scenario of that very kind of thing. You can find it online. I forget what it's called. I have to go look. I did a show on it. But they had the war games, and they tested and worked through all of the little situations of how to roll out a vaccine and how to control populations and pandemics and all of that sort of thing. So this is not the first time they had been messing with that idea. And also, if you go to the patent office and take a look, they've had a patent on COVID-19 for quite some time. Viruses that happen naturally in the world don't typically have patent numbers, just so you know. And Amy says, LOL, Debbie. And Monkey Juice says, let's turn a blind eye. This isn't the left or the right situation. I don't turn a blind eye to anything, Monkey Juice. I look at the situation and make a snap decision. I don't think long, and I don't think wrong. I'm sorry that offends you, but, you know, I'm going to survive. What you do is your business. Kevin says, Monkey, do you know that after 11 days, anyone would be taken off of a ventilator because the body would become dependent on it? Yeah. A large amount of the people that actually died during the first wave of COVID was due to the ventilator. You never put a person on a ventilator. That is bad news. The moment you put somebody on a ventilator, their lungs stop working. Period. They have to have the ventilator. It's like the body forgets to do the thing it does. As long as you can breathe on your own, even if it's a struggle, you should. The minute you go on a ventilator, your days are numbered. That's it. It's over. Ask anybody that's ever worked with them, they'll tell you that. And Amy says, we discussed the topic briefly. I must have missed one. Hang on. Nope, I didn't. We discussed which topic briefly, Amy? Aaron says, I changed my daughter's first poop. The soft-ass doctors was gagging. Ugh. And Kevin says, but yet, during COVID, people were left on ventilators for much longer. Amy says, Aaron, we're talking about the first poop after having a baby? And Amanda says,
LOL, Aaron, the first poop is the worst. The first baby poop is the worst, and the first poop in a woman after having a baby is the worst.
And Bill Bennett says, conspiracies, LOL. Yeah, don't listen to me. I'm not a doctor. We're just discussing things that occurred. My opinion on what happened is irrelevant. This is free speech at its finest. We're just discussing. We're not making any plans, and I'm not spreading any misinformation. I don't know what happened. All I know is my little understanding of it. If you need proof, if you need evidence, if you need reality, go talk to your doctor. They'll know more than I do. Aaron says it was blacker than me, the poop. Ugh. LOL. Aaron says, Amanda. Kevin says, Aaron, LOL. And Amanda says,
LOL, Aaron, I bet.
like tar.
Oh, LOL, yes, Aaron, it was like tar.
Aaron says, I was a proud poop changer.
LOL, Aaron, I bet.
Aaron says it probably would stop a roof leak. Probably. Gross, but probably. Kevin says, Lamau, Aaron. Amy says, I still see people walking down the street in the sunshine and the fresh air wearing a face diaper. I know, right? Those people are the worst cult members because they haven't got the message yet that they're doing a thing that really is irrelevant. It does not help. Not even a little bit. It doesn't slow the spread. It doesn't help you from getting it. It doesn't stop other people from getting it if you have it. You're wearing a piece of paper between an airborne virus and a person that's receptive to airborne viruses. Think about it. If you can smell a fart, you're not stopping a virus. And you can't. What's the number?
1057.
Yep. Aaron says, Flick Seal by Huggies. It's organic. Gross. Linda says, Walter was the only one that could change my one son's diaper, and it was like a wrestling match for the rest of us, Aaron. Amy says, brainstorming. I guess that's the topic we briefly discussed. Aaron said, Linda, they know when those big hands grab them, what's up. Amy says, today's society, state your pronouns, vax status, sexual identity, and stance on the Middle East before having a conversation. Which is why this society is going to go extinct. Linda Davis says, probably true, Aaron. He would just stare up at him. He loved his voice. Linda says, 100%, Amy. And Kevin says, Muggy Juice, I have to ask, are you a Democrat voter? Yeah. Amy says, love y'all. Even you, Muggy Juice. I'm going to be listening, not watching. It's been a long day and I have a headache. Me too. I'll see you at Bible study for sure. Amy, we love you, sweetheart. Get you some rest, honey. I'm about to get out of here too. I've been sick this whole time. I want to go to bed. But I got to roll some cigarettes before I do that. Aaron says, I tell my daughter her body's bigger, but these hands will always give big hugs. Right on. Linda says, Kevin, he must be.
Night, Amy. Feel better soon, hon.
Kevin says, Linda, it sure sounds like it. And good night, Amy. And Linda says, oh, Aaron, you're a good daddy. Amy says, I got up at 5:30 this morning after working until 11 last night. It's starting to sound like me. Linda says, good night, Amy. Hug, heart. Aaron says, gotta love the babies. Kids are awesome. Yes, they are. I miss my babies so much. I have dreams about those days. My little one used to sleep right here on my chest. You could have knocked me over with a feather. I was a very proud daddy. And they were adorable. Kevin says, Amy, I do that every work day, LOL. Get up at 5:30 and work till 11? Oh, yeah. Aaron says, no politics. No politi-tics. I was complimenting him. Oh, no politics ticking. What is the word ticking? How are you using that? That's a new one on me. Muggy Juice says, I'm going to be hypocritical here. I'll never get the flu shot ever again. Got the flu shot and got the flu. Never again, LOL.
See, Monkey, you just proved our point. Thanks.
Well, the flu shot is largely comprised of, I know this is a stretch, but stick with me, the flu. So when you get the flu shot, you are getting the flu. You can do that by yourself. So it's largely irrelevant, the flu shot. I don't understand why people do this. I understand if you're really old, you might want to slowly allow yourself to get the flu in small doses so that you can build an immunity to it and not die because you don't have the strength to fight through a virus. Maybe I can understand that, or if you're immunocompromised or something like that. But a normal, average, everyday person, what's the point in getting a shot to get the thing that you're going to get naturally anyway, or maybe not? The one thing I know for sure is that if you get the shot, you're getting the flu, period. Maybe you won't get it, though. I've been through many, many years and didn't get the flu. Sometimes I get it. Kevin says, Amanda, yes. And at least we can talk about COVID without being banned from YouTube these days. Well, that remains to be seen. I've been pushing the envelope kind of hard the past couple of days. They might yet take me down. I don't know. I hope not. I hope they'll allow me to discuss what's on my mind and talk with people that think they're actually interested in hearing about. But if they do, they do. I have 11 other platforms, so if they do, you can just come find me over there. And Linda says, Kevin, I'm broken. If I don't rest some during the day, I might not be able to do what I need to do for the rest of the week. I hear you there. The Monkey says, what works for you doesn't always work for me, that's all. Well, that's common sense, Monkey Juice, and I know that. I didn't suggest you do anything that I do. I only stated what I do. You do you. I'm not telling you how to live your life or what you can or can't do. Everybody's different. Yes. And Linda's, Kevin says, Linda, I catch up on sleep during the weekend. Right on. Me too.
And Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Kevin says, by the time Friday comes, I'm dead on my feet. Patty says, I think the people that wear masks outside are afraid of what they spray. I think they're just used to hiding their face and they kind of like it. I think it's a cult. And I'm okay with that because now I can look at a distance and see who the crazy people are. I don't have to wonder anymore because they are blatantly marked. Look at me. I'm retarded. Linda says, Kevin, I try to stay consistent. It works with my body better. And Monkey Juice says, Kevin, tell Jake I need a wrench. Well, Monkey Juice, in order to get a wrench, you have to show up every podcast.
and you have to be part of the community on a regular basis, and I have to know you personally. You can get a wrench. I'll give you one, but you got to put in a little effort here.
I'm not giving out no more wrenches.
Aaron says, earn it. Exactly. I'll give you a wrench, but you got to prove yourself worthy of it. Every person here that has a wrench, they show up at every show. Kevin says, Linda, just because you need sleep during the day does not make you broken. It just makes you different. And Debbie says, I had a natural childbirth and then had to have 101 stitches afterwards. My doc was done at 99 stitches, but he said no one would ever believe that. No one would ever believe that, so he did 2 more stitches. Haha. That's a lot of stitches. Tore it right on through, didn't you? Amanda says,
Me too, Linda. A car accident messed me up pretty bad.
Kevin says, Monkey, why do you need a wrench? That's a good question. And Amanda says, no more wrenches are going out. We have plenty now. Kevin says, I need another coffee. Be right back. Linda says, I sleep about 5 hours a night, broken up. And yeah, unfortunately, I am broken, but I still get it done, just not like I used to. Right on. Well, getting old sucks for everybody, and it ain't for sissies. That's true. And Aaron says, you're not broken, you're just bent. And Amanda says, me too, Linda. I have to pee 100 times a night, LOL. You say that.
Me too, Linda. I have to pee 100 times a night. LOL.
Bill Bennett says that conspiracy was intended for our government. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Linda says, LOL, Aaron. Aaron says, Linda, how do you make a diamond? Well, first you have to have a dinosaur. No, oh, you mean, you smush coal. Aaron says, pressure, time, and darkness. And Linda says, under pressure, Aaron, I should be a 5-foot tall diamond by now. Aaron says, but it comes out the hardest thing, and it can only be cut by something stronger. Well, yeah. And there isn't anything stronger. Diamond is the hardest substance we know about. Patty says, I work 2 shifts. I work 2nd shift because I love to stay up and sleep late. This was the only shift I ever worked. Well, I call this West Coast time. This is the only shift I ever worked well with. I call this West Coast time. I hear you. There's nothing wrong with that. If you can figure out a way to live and function in your particular way of living, that's a good thing. I'm not a morning person. It sucks. It makes my whole day bad if I have to get up early in the morning. I work best from noon to midnight.
Me too.
Kevin says, Linda, you still get it done. You're not broken. You're adapting. Right on. Aaron says, well, you got to shine then, Linda. And Linda says, adapt or die, Kevin. Aaron says, a diamond can be the loudest thing in a room and say nothing. Kevin says, Linda, exactly. And Kevin says, Linda, you're broken when you give up. Right on. Debbie says, Dr. Fauci wrote a paper on the Spanish flu pandemic, and in his paper, towards the end, people were no longer dying from the Spanish flu, but from bacterial infections caused by wearing a mask. Interesting.
And Linda says, never, Kevin. Too many people count on me. Debbie says, this is why at the beginning of COVID, he said not to wear a mask and then changed his mind. That is when my trust went down the toilet. And then he said, I only told people that so we would have them. Which is hilarious. Kevin says, Linda, I sometimes think of giving up. And then I look at others that have it much worse. Debbie, exactly. Linda says, it's a daily fight, Kevin. Kevin says, Linda, I hear you. We all fight one thing or another. Yes, we do. But you can't give up. You have to keep fighting. That's the thing. Linda says the flu shot only contains 7 strains of the flu. They have to guess which one will hit. Yep, but guess which one you get if it ain't the one that hits. Kevin says, I've only caught the flu twice in my life. It kicked my ass both times. Oh, yeah. I've had the flu twice, too, I think. Maybe 3 times. Like the show enough flu. Like the real flu. Not like a cold or, what. I've got the flu. It ain't like that. Like the real flu. Like incapacitated and vomiting green bile. The real flu.
Yummy.
Coming out of both ends. Yeah, that wasn't good at all.
It's when you sit on the toilet and hold a trash can in front of you.
Yep. But I survived just fine. And I didn't take anything for it. I don't take medication for things like that.
I do. When I feel the flu or cold or something coming on, I take a double dose of NyQuil, go to bed and sleep it off.
And I let my body do what it's designed to do. Take care of business.
I do too. I take a double dose of NyQuil, wrap up in a blanket and sleep until I can't sleep no more.
Aaron says, it's shorts for politics because the debates bring out tics people have, like heated debates. I'm saying it's good. Okay. Interesting. Bill Bennett says, I'm not ready for a wrench, LOL. Only show I watch on a regular basis is Untethered Live. I hate phones and the internet. And I hear you, Bill. I hear you, buddy. And having a wrench doesn't change anything. It just gives you a little bit more right to kick somebody out if they're doing wrong. That's all. It doesn't change your status at all. You're equally as valuable to me, wrenchless or not.
Except for it makes your name blue.
Yeah, it does make your name blue. Kevin says, Bill, I hate the so-called smartphones. Smartphones that make you dumb. If anybody deserves a wrench, it's Debbie, says Amy.
Speaking of smartphones that make you dumb, we were sitting in my grandparents' house one night playing poker, and my son was about 3 at the time. My aunt had just gotten a new iPhone, and he was just sitting there playing with her phone, and he showed her how to do panoramic pictures, and she had no clue that it would even do them. Leave it to a 3-year-old to show a grown woman how to use her own phone.
Well, if you ever wonder why society got dumber on an exponential level, just pair it with the invention of the smartphone and you'll see the trend.
Oh yeah, they can't think of anything on their own.
Aaron says true, or Patty. Yes, Patty too. And Kevin says, Amy, if you give Debbie a wrench, she will hit me with it. Amy says smiley face, and Amanda says,
you like it, Kevin.
Aaron says, Kevin, you can block it with your wrench. Kevin says, LOL, Aaron. Aaron says, I'll play Star Wars music. Amy says, a wrench to work on tightening or loosening D's nuts. You go, girl. Kevin says, LOL, and Aaron says, smiley face. And Amy says, good night for real this time. Good night, Amy. God bless you, sweetheart. Aaron says, I laughed out loud.
Damn, Amy.
Aaron says, go tighten those nuts, Amy. And Patty says, good night, Amy Elizabeth. Kevin says, good night, Amy.
Night again, Amy.
And Kevin says, I don't like a machine doing my thinking for me. Amen to that. And Aaron says, LOL, Jake, look like the Exorcist. Green out of both ends. I'm telling you, it was a rough night. Rough couple of nights. And Debbie says, it's a dirty job, but something needs to think of you, Kevin. And someone needs to think for you. And Patty says, I see my name in purple. Does that mean I am a welfare case on Untethered Live? No, not at all. It just means I hadn't given you a wrench, and I probably gave Patty a wrench. I haven't given Wesley a wrench. I can't remember if Patty has a wrench or not. Amanda says, LOL, Patty. And Patty says, smiley, smiley, smiley. And I say, that's the end of the chat, and it's 11:32. I'm going to bed.
Woohoo!
Good night, everybody. God bless you all. I'll see you tomorrow night for Bible study. But you've had it right here on Politi-tics. Your mind has been blown. All right. Thank you all for being here. God bless each and every one of you. I'll see you tomorrow night.
For Bible study. Good night, y'all.
Kevin says, good night, everyone. Aaron says, Debbie purple too. Patty says, good night, prayers. Good night, all. Thank you for watching. I love you.
Much love.